Aita for eating at the same restaurant as my husband's family. I 32F have been married to my husband 35M for 3 years. We dated for 2 years before that. I want to start this off by saying that he really is a good guy in other areas. My husband's parents, his 2 brothers ages 38 and 40-ish, and his brother's girlfriends have a tradition of going out to dinner once a month. I am invited about 50% of the time. I've talked to my husband's brother's fiancée, and she says she is invited every time. When I say I'm not invited, I mean that my husband tells me, I'm going to the family dinner. It's probably best if you sit this one out. When I expressed that I wanted to come, he told me that it would be for the best if I didn't. It has caused several fights. About a week ago, my husband went to a family dinner that I wasn't invited to. I was very pissed. So earlier that day, I called and made a reservation at the restaurant they were going to. My husband left the house, not knowing about my reservations, and I left 15 minutes after him. I ended up seated at a table where I couldn't see his family. So I got up as if I was going to the bathroom and walked right past them. They were all there, including his brother's SOs. My husband looked completely shocked and asked me what I was doing there. I told him that I had just been dying for a steak, so I came and got one at the restaurant. My mother-in-law said it was very rude of me to interrupt their family dinner. I pointed out that I wasn't trying to join them. I was just going to the bathroom. I told them to have a good meal, and I left. I went and finished my steak by myself. My husband was really pissed when he came home, and he told me that he couldn't believe how much of an asshole I had been. I said that he was an asshole for not inviting me to his dinners when his brother's SOs got to go. My husband said that the decision to invite was between him and his family, and I should respect it anyway. With the way the word asshole was thrown around, it made me think of this sub. So I wanted to ask if I am the asshole, am I? Relevant comments, commenter 1 info. What reason is he and family not inviting you? Reply. Nobody has told me outright. I assume that they don't like me, but I didn't want to include it in the original post because I don't know for sure why it is. Commenter 2. Have you asked? I can't quite imagine a version of the conversation where your husband tells you to sit this one out, where your immediate response isn't, oh, really? Why? Reply, I do ask why. He's very cagey about it. We will fight for hours, and all I will get is, it's for the best if you don't come. Commenter 3. Info. There's a reason why you aren't invited to dinner with them. What's your history with his family? Be honest, reply, until his mother called me rude. They had never been outright hostile to me or anything. It was small things, like not inviting me to these dinners, that made them seem cold. They have always been kind of distant, but there was never a fight or anything to cause bad blood. I have always tried to be kind to them. Commenter 4. Is there a major race or religion difference between you and the rest of the family in-laws? Reply, I am mixed race and he is white. We are both Christians, but neither of us are particularly religious. My in-laws are fairly religious, but none of their kids are avid churchgoers and they don't seem to mind. Commenter 5. Are you 100% sure his family isn't racist? Because that was my very first thought, although I guess that's probably something you're attuned to and would have noticed. NTA, BTW reply. If they are racist, they aren't super forward about it. Maybe it contributes to their dislike for me, but I can't imagine that it caused their dislike of me. Commenter 6 info. Are you a different race than his family? Than the BIL's girlfriends? Reply, I am half black, they are all white, but I don't know that that's why they act cold toward me. Commenter 7 info. You have to be leaving something out, especially because this isn't just your husband's decision, but his whole family want to exclude you. So have to ask, why do you think they don't want you there? Reply, I am truly not sure. I wish they would just be honest about why they don't want me there so I could know the reason. My best guess is that I just don't fit in. But I'm not sure what about me makes that the case. Commenter 8 info. Why are you married to someone like him? Reply, like I said, he has other good qualities. He's very funny and smart, and he's kind to me when his family isn't involved. Commenter 9. Hypothetically, how good will his qualities be if you two have children and they're allowed to attend but not you? Or alternatively, he leaves without them as well, like they're not family. Of course, this doesn't matter if you have both chosen to be child-free. Reply, we have chosen to be child-free for the time being. We might reevaluate in 5 years or so, but we do not really plan to have children. Update. I left my husband. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my post. I wasn't expecting it to get as many comments as it did. I'm trying to go through and read everyone's comments, but obviously that has taken some time, and I'm still not done. This week has been a bit crazy, but I feel like I made enough progress to justify an update. Here's what's happened. Your comments gave me the confidence to confront my husband about why I wasn't invited, and I wouldn't settle for a cagey answer, so I asked him about it calmly. And he said something like, "Oh, it's just the family decision." So I said, "I'm your family, though. I deserve to know why." He said some very vague stuff like, "Well, you just don't fit in as well as everyone else." And I asked him what that meant. He couldn't really explain it. I was thinking about how a lot of you were concerned about the racial dynamics of my relationship. Personally, I had never thought much about it. No one in his family has ever made a racist comment toward me or toward anyone else. But I wanted to cover my bases, so I asked my husband if I was excluded because I was half black. My husband said, and I quote, "No, it's not because of that. You know I don't care about that." The way he said it implied that someone cared. So I asked who cared. He said nobody. I asked if it was his mom who cared, and he hesitated and said, "Maybe." After a long conversation of prodding him, here's the story I eventually got. His mom is not a fan of me. My race might factor into it. But he said it's also my personality and my political beliefs. And the fact that we went to my parents' house on Christmas Day, the first year we started dating, his mom told him that he should think about finding someone who suited him better. And she encouraged him to take some time away from me. She said the family dinners would be a great opportunity for him to be with his family. Where he fit in, I was invited sometimes because the dinners weren't always an excuse to get away from me, but some of them were. I was obviously devastated after hearing that, but it also felt good to finally hear an explanation. I asked him if he thought he needed even more space from me. He didn't even have time to answer before I went into the bedroom and started packing some clothes. I've been staying at my sister's house for a few days now. I haven't contacted my husband. I'm giving him his space. We'll probably end up separating or getting a divorce. But right now it's too early to tell. This was so hard to type out, but everyone was so supportive, and I felt like I owed it to you all. Thank you again for your kindness. Relevant comments, commenter 1. You don't owe anyone anything. But this is good if hard to read. I am so sorry that someone you loved and trusted treated you so horribly. You deserve to be defended and honored by the man you loved. And you always had a right to sit proudly at that family table. He and his family should be ashamed. I hope they know how people around the world feel about them and their unkindness, racism, and general horribleness. I know this is a hard time for you, but I am glad you finally have answers and are able to remove yourself from a situation where your best interests were not at heart. May your faith and love be rewarded, and may karma bite that entire family in the ass. Sending you so much love and prayers for healing. Commenter 2, you go girl. And fuck that racist family. Commenter 3, good for you for holding his feet to the fire. You deserve answers. I'm also half-bulk married to a white man. Racism is insidious, even if it's not about your race, which I doubt. Family shouldn't treat you this way and your husband should be your fiercest defender. Stories. Number 2, my neighbor's son is peeping at me while I'm in my backyard, and I don't know what to do. Okay, so this is a weird one. This is less of a rant and more of an "oh my god, what do I do?" situation. I'm feeling awkward and conflicted, not necessarily scared, and I need advice on how to navigate this without destroying a great relationship. This is something I'd never imagined I'd be posting about, but the situation is getting a little too weird to ignore, and I need some outside perspective. My husband, 44VM, and I, 36F, have a really great relationship with our neighbors. A single mom, Debbie, and her son, Tommy, not their real names. We moved in next door when Tommy was 11, and since we don't have kids of our own, we kind of took him under our wing. He started doing chores for us for extra cash, which eventually included learning how to maintain our pool in exchange for being able to use it whenever he wants. My husband also built a home gym, and when Tommy started high school and joined the wrestling team, my husband became his coach and personal trainer. They're basically family. Tommy genuinely looks up to my husband as a father figure, and he spends a ton of time at our house, has his own code to the door and side gate, and just lets himself in and out to do chores or use the gym pool. We love having him around. Here's the awkward part. I love to sunbathe in our backyard. Tommy's bedroom window has a direct view of our yard and pool deck. To be honest, I never ever thought anything of it. He's the sweet kid from next door. But about 2 months ago, I was laying out and thought I saw movement in his curtains. I brushed it off thinking it was his fan rustling the curtains or something. The next time I was out, I saw it again but still couldn't be sure. This kind of went on all summer. I'd catch glimpses of movement, but nothing I could definitely say was him watching me. The weather was gloomy for the last few days, so I wasn't out much. Then last Saturday my husband was out. I was home alone, napping in my bedroom. I heard the side gate open, and figured it was Tommy coming to do his chores. When I woke up from my nap, my bedroom door, which I always keep closed, was cracked open. My husband wasn't home, so it wasn't him. It was unsettling, but I tried to tell myself there could be a reason. This past weekend was the confirmation. I was gardening in the backyard and noticed the movement from his window again. This time, I pretended not to see it, and just watched out of the corner of my eye. I could clearly see his shadow in the window, and I could see him moving in a rhythmic way. He stayed there the entire time I was outside, and only moved away after I went back in the house. Look, I get it. He's 16, hormones are raging. I'm a 36-year-old woman in a bikini in his direct line of sight. I have large breasts, and I'm not ugly. I'm pretty sure he's not just peeping, but probably also taking care of business while he's at it. If you know what I mean, honestly, I'm not scared or even that mad. It's just incredibly awkward. This kid is like a son to us. The cracked bedroom door is the part that really crosses a line for me, but I have no proof he did anything more than peek in. I haven't said anything to my husband or his mom. I've thought about it, but I don't want to blow up this kid's life or our relationship with our neighbors over what might just be dumb teenager stuff. But I also feel like I can't just ignore it. What do I even do here? Consensus. There are many different ideas, but most of them agree to make either her husband or his dad talk to him without punishment or shaming. Update. I took the advice of many of you and spoke to my husband about everything that night. He was incredibly understanding. He actually laughed at first and told me he already knew Tommy has a massive crush on me. He joked that Tommy has good taste, and that he'd seen the way Tommy looks at me when he thinks no one is watching. We were both on the same page when it came to the peeping. It wasn't malicious, just a horny teenager making some really dumb choices. However, he agreed that a line had definitely been crossed, especially with him potentially coming up to our bedroom. We decided that he would talk to Tommy the next day after their training session. Our goal wasn't to punish him or make him feel ashamed, but to make it clear that peeping is not okay and that entering our private space like that is a serious breach of the trust we have in him. So, my husband had the talk with him. Tommy was immediately honest and admitted everything. He confessed to watching me through the window and said he just likes looking at me. My husband didn't press him on the more rhythmic details, as we both agreed that part doesn't really matter. Regarding the bedroom door, Tommy admitted he did come upstairs that day and saw me sleeping, but he said he felt weird and messed up about it and went right back downstairs. He seemed genuinely remorseful and understood he had crossed a major boundary and violated my privacy. He apologized sincerely to my husband and then came and apologized to me as well. My husband did a great job of reinforcing that we care about him a lot and that the trust we show by giving him access to our home is a huge deal. He explained that breaking that trust would be devastating for all of us. Things are a little awkward now, of course. Tommy has been pretty sheepish and quiet around me for the last couple of days. I'm just trying to act normal, and I'm hopeful that with a little time, things will go back to the way they were. We trust the conversation was enough to get the message across. Thanks again, everyone, for helping me handle this. Stories number 3. AIO for threatening to take my sister to court after her toddler destroyed my $2,000 gaming setup because she said I should have baby-proofed my apartment. Hi Reddit, I'm F25 and I'm honestly at my breaking point with this one. I need outside perspective because my entire family is acting like I'm Hitler for standing my ground. So, I 25F am a student software developer and a pretty serious PC gamer in my free time. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment that I've spent years making cozy and functional. I saved up for a long time to build my dream PC setup. Triple monitors, custom mechanical keyboard, ergonomic chair, the works, all together. My rig is worth a bit over $2,000. And I take care of it like it's a damn child. Last weekend, my older sister 30F asked if she could crash at my place for one night because her apartment was being fumigated. And her husband was out of town. She has a 3-year-old son, Max, who's let's say spirited. I love him. But he's a little chaos goblin. I hesitated. But she swore she'd keep an eye on him and that it'd just be for one night. They show up Saturday afternoon, and immediately it's clear she wasn't kidding about Max being a handful. Within 10 minutes of arriving, he'd pulled 4 books off my shelf, thrown my houseplants on the floor, and spilled juice on my area rug. I tried to stay chill. He's 3. I get it. But I asked my sister politely to please keep him out of my office, where my PC setup is. She rolls her eyes and goes, "He's just exploring. He's curious. It's normal." But she closes the office door anyway. Cut to Sunday morning, I wake up to screaming. Max had apparently woken up before his mom, managed to open the office door, and decided my setup was his new jungle gym. He pulled down one of my monitors, cracking the screen. He stuck crackers into the PC tower's ventilation slots. I'm not kidding, yanked out my keyboard's keycaps, and had colored on my chair with permanent marker. The cherry on top? He poured apple juice into the tower, into it. When I tell you I went silent, I mean dead silent. My sister comes in, sees the damage, and just says, "Oh no," in this incredibly flat tone like someone knocked over a cup of coffee. I start freaking out, and she has the audacity to say, "You should have baby-proofed the room if it was that important to you." I lost it. I told her that 1, she knew he wasn't supposed to be in there. 2, this is my space, not a damn daycare. And 3, baby-proofing a $2,000 gaming setup is not a standard requirement for adults living alone. She told me to calm down and said that he's just a kid, and stuff is replaceable. I told her she could replace it then. She said she didn't have the money right now, but maybe in a few months she could give me a few hundred. I told her that wasn't acceptable, and that she needed to take full responsibility. She left in a huff, and now my whole family is blowing up my phone. My mom says I'm being materialistic, and should understand that my nephew didn't mean it. My dad said I should have locked the door if it was that important. My brother actually said, "Why do you even need 3 monitors anyway? That's kind of overkill." I've filed a claim with my insurance, but there's no guarantee it'll be covered since it was technically guest damage. I also told her that if she does not pay up, I'll take her to court for what happened. Now I'm getting texts from my sister demanding an apology for blaming her kid for being curious. I told her I'd drop it if she covered the cost of repairs and replacements, or at least met me halfway, and she blocked me. So am I overreacting if I take my sister to court over this? Update, wow, just wow. 4 hours later, I wake up from my nap to this. Thank you guys. It'll take a bit for me to read all of this. My sister still has not unblocked me, but her husband reached out to find out what happened. I'm sorry I don't have more to tell yet, but I'll update again when I do. Seriously, thanks for the insights, everyone. My head is a lot clearer now. Update 2. Hey all, my sister's husband reached out as mentioned earlier, and we're working out a solution if possible. He's been really understanding, as have all of you. Also, to clarify the office situation, my 1-bedroom apartment is on the smaller side, 33M2 355 SQFT, so the landlord converted an old ex-clothes cabinet into a makeshift office. It's weird, but the building is from the 40s, and they had to get creative with the space with an old tenant or something. So its living room sister and her kid slept there. Plus kitchen I slept there. Plus the office. Thanks for all the support and the award. I really don't have the words for how nice people have been in both DMs and the comments about going no contact with the whole family for taking sister's side. I'm not ready to go full no contact right now, but I really appreciate your perspective. It's definitely something I'll keep in mind if things keep escalating and no one starts showing even a little respect for my boundaries. I just want accountability, not drama. But if they keep pushing, I won't hesitate to step back. I don't think I want to know my family if they can't appreciate the work I put into my hobbies. As a bit of an update, my sister's husband actually reached out to me privately earlier and said he wants to figure something out. He didn't know the full extent of what happened. He suspected my sister lied to him, and he seemed genuinely sorry. That gives me a little hope. Part of what's made this so frustrating is that I work as a janitor part-time too and don't make a lot. I saved for years to build that setup, and it's not even a year old yet. Seeing it treated like it's no big deal by my family members who know how much I struggle has been honestly disheartening. Your advice about collecting evidence and presenting it calmly is something I'll definitely do. Just knowing I have a game plan and options helps a lot. Thank you. The office is a converted clothes closet. The apartment's from the 40s and has a weird layout. There's no lock on the door. The door is just a heavy old one. To be honest, I've been wondering if my sister might have opened it for him. I just don't get why. 2. The crackers and juice weren't mine. Sister brought them. I had no idea he had access to them during the night until after the fact. 3. I didn't get much notice. I saw her message around 10 a.m. Saturday, and they arrived around 2 p.m. My place was a mess, so I spent most of that time cleaning before they came by. In hindsight, yeah, I should have been more cautious with my setup. But it didn't even cross my mind that anything like this would happen, as I thought the office area was inaccessible to him. What he did pull off of the shelves was moved higher up and out of reach, and in an area where he could be kept an eye on. Somebody said she should have put her setup away before they came over as part of cleaning. Are you my sister? You're really sounding like my sister. Unblock me if you are, but just in case. I'm not talking about tidying up, as in a few cans of this and that. My apartment was a mess. I don't live in a clinically ready space that can just be handed to a relative and a toddler on a short notice. That 4 hours included making breakfast, cleaning, doom scrolling and bringing out the trash. I don't understand this comment. Is it because I'm a janitor and should be quicker or something? Update. Hey again, just wanted to post a quick update since it's been a little under a week, and a few people asked what happened next. Things are better, pretty fucking weird, and still ongoing, but here's where we're at. Last Saturday, my brother-in-law Beal came over to check out the damage himself. He actually brought Mac's toddler with him, which I was almost livid about at first. But he had a reason. He asked Max to try opening the office. The kid couldn't do it. The door was too heavy for him. You probably can guess where this is going. BIL offered to take my PC to the store that originally built it for me. Just to see what was fixable, I agreed. But asked for something in writing just so I had some peace of mind. We put together a little agreement that he'd be responsible for it while it was with him. Yeah, it was just a formality and would not hold much merit anywhere. But it helped me feel a bit more in control. On Monday, he dropped it off at the shop and gave them my number so they could keep me updated. He also told me he confronted my sister about how things played out. I sent him my original Reddit post too. He read the comments and apparently showed them to her. She still hasn't unblocked me, and from what I've heard, was not happy about the fact my BIL is actually listening to me. I also shared the post and some comments with my parents and brother since no one really believed me before. My parents still don't fully get it, but they've at least stopped pushing back. My brother is more understanding now, though for some reason he mostly wanted to talk about how many people saw the post. I don't think either of those three still care, really, and I'm fine if they see this, do better. Anyway, I went to see the PC today, Wednesday here. The shop said it's mostly salvageable. It needs a very, very careful internal clean, and a few fans replaced, and some wiring fixed, but overall the main parts survived somehow. BIL told me he'll cover the cost of the repair, no hesitation. When I brought up what my sister said about not being able to pay even $200, he said she's lying. He also said he's not sure Max actually did all the damage. He thinks the door was left open on purpose, or that my sister might have even done some of it herself. Based on the height of the tower and where the crackers ended up, it didn't quite add up to a toddler acting alone, apparently. She's been telling him I have a gambling addiction. I did get a bit hooked on Genshin like 4 years ago, I guess, and that maybe this whole thing will wake me up, which is new. She used to be supportive, or at least indifferent. No idea where that switch came from, so yeah, that's where we're at. My PC is being cleaned up and fixed, and Bill is covering the cost. Sister still has me blocked and won't talk to me. Still tempted to start something with her, to be honest, especially if she actually did all of this on purpose. Still not ruling out small claims court depending on how things go. Thanks again to everyone who responded to the original post. Seeing how many people understood what happened really helped me hold the line with my family when I felt like I was losing my mind. One thing I've been turning over in my head lately is what if my sister did do something to my setup on purpose? I don't want to believe that. It feels like a stretch. But the more I think about it, the less so, I guess. But then I remember how she acted when I asked her to keep Max out of the office. The eye roll and the "he's just curious" comments like she didn't take any of it seriously. And now hearing from my BIL that she's been saying I have a crippling gambling, gaming, whatever addiction and needed to grow up, it's just weird. She used to be cool about it. Never super into games herself, but she got that it was important to me. If something changed, I don't know when or why, and if this was some weird way to make a point or teach me a lesson, that's messed up. You're not our mom. How about talking first instead of this? I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I think about it, the less it makes sense that Max could have done all of that alone. It's sick if she blamed her own son for it. So yeah, not accusing anyone outright. But that thought is there now. And if you're my sister reading this, which I'm guessing you are, because I bet you'd love to look at the comments that are on your side a lot. I don't know why you blocked me. I don't know what shifted in your head about all this. But if you actually had anything to do with damaging my setup, whether it was on purpose or just through complete carelessness, fuck you. You know I worked hard for that. You know what that rig meant to me. And you know I would never do something like this to your stuff. And if Max really did all of it on his own, I hope you're paying closer attention now. Not for my sake, but for his. Read the comments on my first post again, from other parents and people with younger siblings who clearly know better than you. That's all. Thanks for reading, those who did. Comments by Op. People said it was suspicious BIL immediately took Op's side and probably knows more than he lets on. And B, his wife did more on other fronts, so he knows what she is capable of. To be honest, it sucks to admit, but I think you're spot on. BIL is a very calm, happy person. But he seemed more resigned than anything when we met last weekend, and I don't care. I get asking about it might not be my place, but I'm worried. My chair is okay. The cushion. Legs and back are stained with red permanent marker. But I've learned to live with it. Co-workers and I are trying to find a chemical to fix the situation on the cushions. But an ethanol solution, small amounts. I don't want to ruin the chair further, has slowly been working at cleaning the other parts. Being a janitor does have its perks, keyboard. I could not find all of the keycaps that were pulled off. I replaced the missing ones with an old keyboard's ones, both mechanical, so it's a bit awkward, but it works for now. I might get custom ones for it if I find some that fit. The cracked monitor, on the other hand, needs to be replaced. I guess calling it cracked was a kindness in itself. Still got the other two left, and at least it wasn't the most expensive one, but yeah. What sister told the defending family? My sister was talking incredible smack about me to them, making it seem like I screamed at her child over a minor mistake. I'll admit, during COVID I did spend $300 on Ganyu when she came out. But that was the worst of it, and it was so worth it. I don't play much anymore. Mostly stuck on Marvel Rivals right night, but the overall margin from Genshin release to this day, I've spent under $600. I get it. Even that might look crazy to people who don't play video games. But sheesh, gambling addiction? Bruh, she should be more concerned of what I spend on Pokemon packs in this economy. If she's gotta be concerned over something. We are waiting to see if my sister confesses to anything. If so, she will be paying out of her own pocket and paying back. Not my bill. If she confesses and refuses, then, well, the computer's essential. But the keyboard works, and I still have 2 monitors. That's why I am willing to wait for the other damage to be solved. Update 2, a few weeks ago. I made a post not here about how my sister's toddler 3M almost destroyed my PC setup. Long story short, she and her son were staying with me for one night. He got into my office, and the whole setup got wrecked with juice and cracker bits shoved into the tower. The situation was awful, and when I asked my sister for help covering the damage, she made an excuse and blamed me instead. It became whole family drama. My sister blocked me and acted like the whole thing was my fault. But her husband, my BIL, reached out on his own. He checked the damage himself, helped take the PC in for repairs, and ended up covering the costs because he was genuinely embarrassed by the way she acted. He even started questioning whether their toddler could have done that much damage on his own, especially after the kid couldn't even open the door by himself. My BIL thought maybe my sister left it open or did something herself. Within a week of that, my BIL confronted her and, well, she kicked him out of the house. Like, full on. Told him to get the hell out, packed up his things, dumped them and left them by the curb like he was a stray dog. He told me she screamed that he was betraying her and taking the side of that fucking Reddit bitch, meaning me. She also apparently accused him of conspiring and cheating on her with me to humiliate her publicly, which, what? She hasn't let him see their kid since. No visits, no phone calls. She's gone full black hole mode and is completely unreachable, threatening cops if he goes near. She's blocked me, my brother, even some extended family, and is only talking to our parents, who are still enabling her. But I think it's only so they can keep Max at arm's length. Meanwhile, I'm hearing rumors she's been telling people I'm unhinged, psychotic, and that I made the whole thing up. She told one of our cousins that I lured her kid into the office like some kind of trap or setup. I don't know if this is postpartum related, or if something snapped, or if she's just always been this vindictive and I didn't want to see it. But I'm scared. Scared for her kid. Scared for her husband. And yeah, I'm also scared for myself. Because if she's willing to ruin her whole marriage and turn the family against me just to protect a lie, my parents want to keep it under wraps. But I know my Bill wants to get her help. I want to get her help too. But I don't know where to start or what to do. What can I start with to possibly push her towards someone who can help her out? Has someone here dealt with a situation like this before? I feel helpless, as I know she's an adult and has free will. But I fear for her safety, and my nephew's safety as well. My BIL voiced wanting to divorce her, and told my parents he will get his son whether they approve or not. His side of the family is furious with mine, and I've no idea where I stand, because yeah, I guess I started this. Is this salvageable? If so, how? What can I do? Who can I contact within the States? Is there anything I can do even? Does anyone know? Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been a long while since I last posted, and honestly I wasn't sure if I wanted to give another update at all. A lot has happened over the past 6 months, some of it good, some of it really heavy, and some of it that I'm still struggling to process. But I know a lot of you followed the whole thing from the beginning, and my direct messages have been full of so many awesome, supportive people. I feel as if I owe all of you a final update before letting this matter go. First, the positives. My PC is alive and well and has been for a while. The shop did a miracle job restoring it, and it's running beautifully again. It almost feels symbolic now. Like after everything blew up in my life, at least this one thing that mattered to me is still standing. I've also gotten closer to my brother-in-law, well, ex-Bill now, I guess. Though it feels weird to call him that since he's still family to me. He has full custody of my nephew, and that little kid is thriving. He's calmer, happier, and honestly just a joy to be around in ways I didn't even realize before. And he turned 4 after all the court stuff ended, so we could have his birthday in peace. My BIL has his own family helping him, and I've been pitching in too whenever I can. It's exhausting at times, but I don't regret a second of it. My nephew deserves stability, and my BIL deserves support after everything he's had to go through. Watching him step up as a single dad has been inspiring. Now for the complicated part. My family. When things first went down, my parents were still on my sister's side, and I was basically the black sheep. But something happened during the legal proceedings that made them realize she wasn't well and that I hadn't been exaggerating about any of it. For the first time in what feels like forever, they stopped defending her blindly. They actually reached out to me, apologized, and admitted they'd been wrong. Well, kind of. But I couldn't be asked to escalate it again. It's been slow, but they've been trying to rebuild things with me. Part of me resents that it took them this much to finally see the truth. But I'm also relieved not to be completely estranged from my parents anymore. I'm still trying to decide what kind of a relationship they deserve to have with me after all of this. As for my sister, I don't even know how to start. During the custody battle, she completely broke down. A lot of stuff came out, including the fact that she had broken and damaged other people's things in the past, friends, her co-workers' stuff, intentionally. She admitted she did it because, in her words, Bill owed her more as the mother of their child, and destroying things was her way of making him notice her. She also said something else that stuck with me, that when she broke things, she felt powerful. She said people underestimated her, ignored her, treated her like she was just a mom. But when she destroyed something, she knew she couldn't be ignored. It forced people to react, and it sure did. I know some of the people witnessing this in real time still pity her, which I don't know how to feel about it. Still, it explains so much of her behavior, not just with the PC, but with her marriage, with our family and how she's spiraled. She wanted to feel like she mattered, but instead of asking for help in a healthy way or seeking support, she turned to control and destruction. And when that wasn't enough, she escalated. Writing that out makes me feel so sad, honestly. It's like everything I suspected about the PC wasn't just a suspicion, and to think all of this could have been avoided if she sought help or accepted going to couples therapy properly. Apparently my BIL had suggested it a few times to her, but she declined after she lost custody of my nephew. Things spiraled fast. She had a complete breakdown, and long story short, she's now in jail awaiting transfer to a psychiatric facility. I don't want to go into every detail, but it's safe to say it'll be a long time before I see her again, or want to see her again. And here's the part I can't quite make peace with. I feel bad for her. I know that might sound crazy after everything she put me through, after how she tore our family apart, and after what she did to her own son. But she's still my sister. There's this ache I can't quite get rid of, because I don't know if the person she is now is who she always was, or if something in her just snapped along the way. I look back on our childhood and teenage years and wonder if there were signs that I missed. If there was some pattern of behavior I brushed off as moodiness or sibling rivalry that was actually something worse. What complicates those feelings even more is everything that happened after my posts started spreading. I never expected them to blow up the way they did. I just wanted an outside perspective because my whole family was gaslighting me, making me feel insane for protecting my own belongings. And then, suddenly, it was everywhere, on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, even some news article was made about it. Someone tagged me to let me know that had even featured my story, which was surreal and honestly sort of humiliating in its own way. Even though being noticed was kind of cool, I guess, strangers were debating my family like it was some kind of reality TV show, and I had no control over it. At first, I was grateful for the validation, but over time, it started to eat away at my conscience. Keeping my posts public turned out to be a mistake. I know hindsight is 20/20, but I regret not locking them down sooner. By the time Bill's lawyer told us it would be best to hide everything, the damage had already been done. My sister had already seen the comments, and the full force of the internet turned against her, and she hyper-fixated on it. That is not just me speculating either. One of our cousins told me she would rant constantly about it during the legal proceedings, always bringing it back to the posts and how I had publicly humiliated her. Apparently, she would spend hours scrolling, trying to dig up my posts, looking for new comments even after I hid them. It was like pouring salt in a wound, and she couldn't stop picking at it. I keep asking myself if I made things worse by letting it all stay up as long as it did. If I gave her more ammunition for her paranoia, or if I pushed her further toward the breakdown that ended with her losing everything. Part of me feels like I failed her. Like maybe if I had been more careful, she wouldn't have spiraled so badly. But then another part of me reminds myself that it wasn't the internet that broke her. It was something already inside her. The posts didn't cause her to smash my PC, or to lash out at BL, or to neglect her own child. Those were choices she made long before Reddit ever came into the picture. I realize there's no point in deleting them. Even if I scrubbed my entire account clean. The internet never forgets. Copies are out there somewhere, archived and dissected on forums I'll never even see. I can't control that, no matter how much I might want to. What I can control is how I move forward. How I take care of myself, my nephew, and the family I still have. The truth is, moving forward has been a mixed bag. On one hand, my daily life feels lighter without the constant chaos of my sister's presence. I'm not coming home to find something broken. I'm not waking up to accusatory texts. And I'm not walking on eggshells waiting for the next outburst. That alone has been a kind of freedom I didn't realize how badly I needed. On the other hand, there's this strange emptiness where she used to be. Even if her presence was destructive, she was still there, part of the fabric of my family. And now there's just this jagged hole. My nephew asks about her sometimes. He doesn't fully understand what happened, of course. He just knows Mommy is sick and can't take care of him right now. Bill and I try to keep our answers simple, but the truth is, I don't know what kind of relationship, if any, he'll be able to have with her in the future. I think about that a lot, because no matter how much I've been hurt by her, I can't help but imagine what it'll feel like for him one day, when he's old enough to learn the truth. How do you explain to a child that their mother did what my sister has done? How can it ever make sense to him? I don't know what to do when the day comes that either BIL or I have to explain what happened. As for me, I've been in therapy since all of this started, recommended by some of the lovely people in the comments and in my direct messages. Thank you. At first it was just a way to vent, but it's become essential, to be honest. My therapist keeps reminding me that none of this is my fault, and that my sister's choices were her own. That I didn't ruin her life by posting about the PC, and that it's not my job to fix her. I hope to one day believe everything that my therapist is telling me. As for my sister, I don't know what the future holds for her, or if she'll ever get better. But if anyone else has problems like this, maybe be a bit more careful than I was. I spent the last months worrying I'd get charged with something for causing emotional turmoil over a Reddit post. On a positive note, the stress caused me to get reconnected with an old hobby. Retro electronics. Did you know the 3DS is considered retro now? I feel old. I'm the same age as Pokemon Crystal. Anyways, from now on I will be focusing on graduating and working to help my bill pay off the debt that accumulated during the legal proceedings. But now that it's over, it's nice to know that at least for the coming months, things should be peaceful for me and those who matter the most to me. Thank you to everyone who followed this from the beginning. Stories number 4. My F26 ex-BF M27 said he was gonna propose for the last 4 years, when I finally found the courage to break it off. He did. I don't know if I should give it another chance. We started dating in 9th grade after he asked me out at Winter Formal, 2012. Went as friends, but quickly hit it off and were together by New Year's. From there, we got to a lot of milestones fast, and honestly, we both figured we'd be married by 2017, 2018. The excuse at the time was, we're young and still in school. I finished college in 3 years. Him in 4, both have our dream jobs and had a combined income of $144K a year. We have loans, but none of them are atrocious, and we lived in a home he inherited. That said, our life felt perfect by the time I was 22. That's when he started randomly inquiring about my ring size. Dream wedding, whether I like gold or silver jewelry more, etc. 22 went by, and no engagement, no big deal. 23 comes, and it's same thing, I'm thinking it's any day now. 24 passes, and the conversation becomes tiring. I started to ask what he's waiting for. He claims the right moment hasn't come yet. It took me till age 25 to realize he often used the promise to do it when I was upset at him for something. By 26, I told myself that he had until he turned 27, his birthday was closer. After that, I'm walking away. I got my own space ahead of time and followed through. The separation was peaceful. He didn't protest much, if at all. Last week, about 2 months later, he showed up at my place. We shared locations a couple years back and just never turned them off. I completely forgot about it. I wasn't creeped out or anything once he explained how he found me. After some catching up, he pulled out the box, all while sitting in the couch across from me. It wasn't the romantic on one knee, and I can't help but feel I've forced his hand. This feels like a here damn more than anything else. He says I'm overthinking and he didn't realize what he had until he lost it. He never knew that marriage was that important to me. I kind of want to get back with him, but I don't want him to resent me, and later on say he was forced to get married or anything. TLDR, my ex proposed to me after almost 13 years of dating. However, this comes after I dumped him. I worry that he isn't sincere in his wish to marry me and will resent me eventually. Comments. Commenter 1. He never knew that marriage was that important to me. Bullshit. He knew. He just didn't think you'd actually be willing to leave him over it. In fact, he still doesn't. Or he'd be taking responsibility for things coming to this instead of trying to make it sound like your fault somehow. He thinks if he gives you this ring and you come back, he can go right back to stringing you along with reasons it's not the right moment to set a date for the wedding and start planning in earnest. Let him sort through why this hasn't been a priority for him. Or just keep playing ignorant on his own. And keep moving forward with your life. Reply, thank you. Commenter 2. Yep. It feels like a shut-up ring because it is one. Commenter 3. He used the promise of marriage to manipulate you during fights. That's a huge red flag. If it's not the promise of marriage, it'll be something else. You've been dating for almost half your life. You don't know what other relationships are like. Hell, you barely know what you're like by yourself. Spend some time being a single person for a while, and get to know yourself. You'll be better off for it. Reply, thank you. Was thinking of going to the cafe by myself for the first time today. Update, hi all. Earlier today, I made a post asking how I should navigate this situation. A short summary would be that my BF of almost 13 years and I separate after the idea of marriage was dangled in my face for 4 or 5 years. We remained separated for 2 months before he suddenly reached out. Proposing, many suggested I wait, but I already knew what the correct choice was. A lot of hard truths being pointed out to me made it hard to ignore. That said, I had the ring. I never told him yes, rather, I don't know. But he insisted I keep it, given I decided I needed to move on. I wanted to meet so that I could give him his ring back. He agreed to it first, but was insistent on it being at either my place or his. I was already at the park with the ring in my car and just wanted a neutral meeting place. So I said no. He argued that it must not be that important then, so I said, okay, I'll give the ring your mom when I have the chance. He didn't agree to meet, but this did make him FaceTime me. So we spoke that way. I was okay with that. The call started with him trying to negotiate a meeting location for a moment or two. Once he gave up, I told him I had questions about our breakup period. He told me I live in the past, but quickly backtracked when I said, okay, never mind, and attempted to hang up. He told me I wouldn't like the answer to some stuff. And he's right. He admitted that he saw 4 women during the 2 months, 2 of them being a threesome. He alleged to have wanted that experience before marrying me. He also claimed that he felt inferior to me in the recent years, because of how put together I am, as if he's much different. I was in shock. I'd spent these last 2 months alone and trying to heal while he's having threesomes. It hurt, but it felt more like a disgust hurt than a betrayal one. Not because of the threesome, but because he thought he could just come back when he was done having fun. He asked me to come back to his place. He said, the kids, 2 goldfish miss me. I told him that I can't get back with him. I need to experience something new just like he did. He's all I've ever known. But saying this upset him, and might have given me some real insight into how he felt. He called me selfish. I'm always thinking about myself. He brought up a time I went to the gym on his birthday, early in the morning before proceeding to spend all day with him. He said I constantly make unilateral decisions, like this one. He accused me of being with another guy, and said that's why I don't want him to come over. I should have hung up earlier. My choice was already made. Once he'd known I was set in not rekindling, he was only looking to hurt my feelings. My father offered to return the ring so that I don't have to. And I've been advised to call the police if he shows up at my place again. Despite this, I feel good. I got some answers and saw what happened when he didn't get his way. Again, I appreciate the advice. Commenter 1. You handled it extremely well and did the right thing. Consider yourself you dodged a huge bullet. I do wish you the best going forward. Commenter 2. He told you all that to hurt you, because he saw how great you are doing right now. Without him, while he is miserable, he thought he had you. Live your best life. His loss. Commenter 3, right? He expected her to welcome him back with open arms after he slept around and did what he wanted to do. He thought she loved him more than he loved her, and he found out that wasn't the case, so he felt the need to work in some parting shots to try to bruise her ego. Commenter 4. Keep this post saved somewhere you can easily access. In fact, go a step further and detail everything from your conversation that you remember. Anything he said, anything you said, and especially how you felt. Something tells me this won't be the last time your ex tries to reach out. At some point doubt will kick in, and you will wonder if you did the right thing. Trust yourself. You are doing the right thing. Be proud of yourself for loving yourself enough to know you deserve better. And if you start to doubt your choice, pull out this post and any other reminder that of who your ex is. Good luck. Stories number 5. Aita for filing a police report on a good friend who was caught on video stealing my boyfriend's camera at a dinner. She has refused to help me either replace it in full or contribute to the cost of replacing it. We were out to dinner one night at an expensive hotel. My boyfriend let me borrow his Canon G7X 1800 camera to bring to take pictures with my friends. At the conclusion of the dinner, I went up to the room and realized the camera was gone. I went back right down to the table and no one had seen it. I immediately got with hotel security and she is on video, clear as day, swiping the camera when my back was turned and shoving it in her purse. I covered for her initially with my friend and contacted her to find a resolution. She had taken the camera with her and my other friends to a club after dinner, which I did not attend, and lost it there. For background, this is my good college friend who I know well, the camera thief. She has been taken on free trips to Coachella and St. Barth's on my dime, not kidding, as well as many other things. We have done a lot together and are good friends, so I expected her to feel sorry. Initially, she lied, saying she did not have it. When I told her we had video, she confessed, and then said yes, she took it but lost it at the next bar she went to with my other friends. It is now gone. I asked her to help me replace it by going in on me with the cost. She has refused all measured or resolutions, and now I feel I have nothing left to do but file a police report and let them handle it. It is impacting my relationship, and I am furious my friend is not helping at all. Why should I be on the hook for something she stole? I have given her 3 weeks to help me resolve this, but she insists she is going to do nothing. I am being pressed by my boyfriend to either replace the camera or help him file a report with her info and the footage. I even asked her to just throw in half or less than half the cost to help. But she still refuses. I do not want her to get in trouble. But I am at the point where I feel she really does not care. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. YTA. Is there a reason you are choosing your thieving friend over your boyfriend? She's made it clear she's not your friend, and that she's not going to make this right. The police report should have been filed the moment she said she wasn't going to pay for it. If I were your boyfriend, I would be reconsidering the relationship with you over this. You're really dragging your feet to make this right. Get the report made and replace his camera. Reply. This is how I am starting to feel. You are right, and thank you for the honest words. I just hate to get anyone in trouble. I think I may be the asshole because if I wanted to, I could have paid out of pocket and resolved it for everyone. Commenter 2 YTA. Not even sure why you are asking. I have rarely seen a post with more asshole-ish behavior on here. You are an asshole to your BF. Kind guy trusted you with something valuable, and you are not even giving him all information you have after it got swiped. You brought your asshole friend to this dinner. You are an asshole for not filing a report. You are an asshole to yourself for not holding this fucking friend accountable. What the hell do you mean, throwing in half? Get your head out off your ass and go file a report. Make sure your BF is made whole. Be utterly embarrassed with your own behavior here. And do better next time. Reply, I know. I just didn't want to get her in trouble. I feel I could have paid for it myself and resolved for everyone. She is also in our friend group we have had forever, and it will cause ripples. Commenter 3. I'd break up with you this, to be honest. Not wanting to cause ripples. You're causing them in your relationship. Hopefully he leaves you after you keep showing you aren't on his side. Reply, I am a good boyfriend to him. We love each other. It is just a weakness in my character that I give people the benefit of the doubt. Clearly something I need to work on. I just really try to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially those I am close with. Up clarifies on the location of the security cameras after realizing his BF's camera was missing once OP went up to his room. Reply, wrong. I went up to my room where my BF was. He asked where his camera was. I went right down to the salon where we were eating and it was gone and no staff had seen it after clearing our table. This is what prompted me to have security check the cameras, which they had in the dining room. Commenter 4, genuine question. Are you a particularly insecure person? Don't mean that as an insult asking, because that's the only way I could see someone trying to make amends with this friend. She's not your friend. She's using and taking advantage of you. And it sounds like she's been doing so for a long time. There are better people out there. You need to start respecting and treating yourself better. Otherwise, your willingness to go out on a limb for the wrong people will jeopardize your relationships with the right people. I'm sure you can see how this can quickly turn into a self-destructive cycle. Report her to the police and cut her out of your life and if you aren't already, I'd talk to a therapist to better understand why you feel so compelled to protect this relationship. Soft YTA to yourself and your boyfriend. Reply, I agree with you. And this is an issue I do have. You are right here. I am a people pleaser at my own expense. Additional information from OOP after reading comments. Reply, I feel guilty because I gave her time to fix it and she made me look like an idiot. I also feel guilty because I know if I could swing it right now, I would have replaced it myself. I just cannot at this moment buy a 2K camera. Update. I sent her a text this AM telling her if I do not receive full cost of the camera or shipping confirmation of a new camera from an approved vendor to a provided address by end of day Friday, we will be filing a report with the police Saturday AM. I felt like an asshole typing this out to her, but I have to do it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Why would you even borrow this camera to begin with? A G7X is a glorified point-and-shoot camera at the cost of $1,800. Why wouldn't you just use your cell phone? I know this isn't the point, but you borrowed something expensive and then lost it around people you can't trust, and it wasn't something you even needed to use. Reply, yes, you are right. In my defense, I borrowed it from the hotel room we were in to meet them at the hotel restaurant. I never intended to leave property with it. Boyfriend stayed in room upstairs when I went to meet friends. Thinking was take a few pics on it and bring it back upstairs when done. Commenter 2. Wow, your update makes you even more of an AH. Just go to the police station and file a report. You are going to keep giving her line to hang you with. Don't be surprised when your BF dumps you after he is made whole for the cost of the camera. Reply, I did that because I had a feeling it would be resolved if I made it clear action would be taken, one way or the other. Commenter 3. My take is that the friend stole the camera because she wanted it, not just to take a few extra pics after OP went home as she claimed. She didn't lose it as she first claimed. IMO, she still has it. Even after all the drama that's already happened. Police is what that girl deserves and need. Reply, this is starting to feel what it is. I do not know if you are familiar, but this camera even at full price is out of stock. Girls covet it because it is known as the best Instagram camera. I think she took it and hoped I would replace it. OP should be making this up to his boyfriend. Reply, bought him some golden goose shoes, dinner, and some clothes. I feel awful. I am glad this happened. I am done being used. My friends. Update X2. She told me she is sick of me and that I will be receiving a tracking number by 12 Eastern on Friday, and not to blame her if the package is never received. I told her if she was my real friend, she would be sorry, and in no way will I allow this to be flipped on me. Should I ask if the camera is new or the one that disappeared? Update X3. She sent me a tracking number via FedEx. It says it is awaiting package. I have asked her repeatedly if she is sending me the original camera, assuming it magically turned up or a new one. She refuses to answer and only tells me to stop bothering her. Update 4. I am more and more convinced my friend camera thief took the camera, hoping that I would just replace it for my boyfriend, gifting her a free camera for background. This friend is heavily involved on Instagram and loves taking pictures. The Canon G7 is coveted by women because it is known as the Instagram camera. Even if you wanted to buy one at full price, they are out of stock everywhere. Let's hope it gets returned with this tracking. FedEx still says awaiting package even though shipping info was sent to them at 7 p.m. yesterday. Update 5. Original camera returned via FedEx the other day has been given back to the boyfriend. However, the camera thief blocked me on all socials after this. Appeared she was trying to keep the camera for herself, and expected me to just buy a new one for the BF Stories number 6. Aita for calling my friend's husband a useless piece of shit. My best friend and her husband have 4 kids, 8F, 6F, 4F, and 3F. My friend's husband is a great dad when someone is there to help. When he's alone with all 4 kids, he gets overwhelmed and freezes. A few weeks ago, my friend was sick, so I brought over dinner. We thought it was just a bad cold. When we were eating, my friend went to the bathroom and the 3-year-old followed her. 3-year-old came running out saying her mom was throwing up. All of the kids ran to the bathroom, followed by me and my friend's husband. I helped her clean up while her husband went to get her nausea medicine and a thermometer. When he came back, I asked him to get the kids out of the bathroom so she could have some space. After we got the kids out, I took her temp and it came back at almost 104, so I went out to get her some Tylenol and water. I get back, and the kids are all in the bathroom again because their dad can't keep them away from the bathroom for 2 minutes. I give her the Tylenol and water and she almost immediately starts to vomit again, then passes out. Her husband just stood there while I was trying to get her into recovery position, get the kids away from her, and call 911. I managed to get all of them out of the bathroom and her husband is coming back every 20 seconds, asking if I can call their nanny to help with the kids. If I can go to the hospital with her, did I start the dishwasher or does he need to hand wash the youngest sippy cup, etc. When my friend regained consciousness, he even started asking her how to do bedtime for the little ones. Did she wash their pajamas yet? Did they get screen time that day or can he put on a movie? I told him his wife couldn't hold his hand right now and he just had to figure it out. He told me he's not usually the one that deals with this, and he's trying his best. Then goes back to asking what stories the kids like. What setting does he put the sound machine on, and how do they like their milk? I just snapped and told him to figure it out on his own and called him a useless piece of shit. It's been nearly a month and he still acts all pissy when I stop by the house. My friend says he'll get over it, but my boyfriend thinks I was unnecessarily rude and he was trying his best. Aita for calling him a useless piece of shit when he couldn't handle his own kids while his wife was experiencing a medical emergency. Comments, commenter 1 NTA, wife unconscious? He's asking about bedtime stories and sippy cups. Sometimes harsh truth is needed. Commenter 2. Honestly, I think you were too kind. Would he have even called 911 if you weren't there? Or just shaken her awake to ask her why she was slacking off? This dude is not a good dad. He's cosplaying while his wife works herself to serious illness. I bet she hasn't been given any help to recover either. I would be making it my life mission to make this dude miserable and get my friend ready for a divorce. She's already a single mum. Removing him would be a net drop in care work. Because she has to parent him as well. Reply. She spent 3 days in the hospital, and her dad stayed at the house for a week to help out. And I stopped by whenever I could to check on things. So she was able to recover in peace for the most part. Commenter 3 NTA. Dad of 2 boys under age of 9 and nothing pisses me off more than lazy. Uninvolved dads. It's not rocket science. It's freaking bedtime. And it's appalling he knows nothing about the bedtime routine. Those are some of my best times with my boys. Commenter 4. NTA, his wife was literally unconscious and he couldn't figure out bedtime? She had a fever of 104 and he couldn't figure out PJs or sippy cups or something to put on for the kids? Let alone keep them out of the bathroom for more than 20s? He is a useless asshole. Stories number 7. I'm 99% sure my 35 mem wife 33F of 14 years has been cheating on me for years. I'm completely broken and at a loss for what to do. I 35 made her think that my wife 33F is cheating on me and has been for many years. We've been together for 14 years. We've been married for almost 10 years. And we have a 5-year-old daughter together. Incident 1. When my wife and I were in college where we first started dating, we had an incident where she had some really sexually graphic texts from a guy we both knew from school. She even had classes with him. I confronted her about the texts. I definitely didn't handle it well, and basically accused her straight out of the gate as cheating on me without realizing there were some possible outs for her. One of those outs was that she claimed that they were just some pervy texts that she got from this guy out of the blue, and that if I had paid any attention when I was snooping through her phone, that she hadn't actually responded to them. At the time, I conceded that I may have overlooked that possibility, and I had overreacted. She apologized to me for not mentioning to me that some guy was hitting on her like that, and I apologized for overreacting and for snooping. We moved on from there. Incident 2. Fast forward to this last year. My daughter, wife, and I are at the gas station. I can tell my wife is kind of distant and detached from the interactions my daughter and I are having. I notice she's glued to her phone as well. The gas fill for our car is on the passenger side, and I have the rear passenger door open so I can tickle my daughter while I wait for the car to fill up. I'm really suspicious of what my wife is doing at this point, so I decide that I'm going to take a look over my wife's shoulder from the back seat at what it is she's so caught up in. Turns out she is actively in the moment sexting some guy, like words, descriptions, acts, that very much seem like they've been doing this a while, texting, and looking back with 20/20 hindsight, I'm fairly certain they had been fucking as well. Also, all the shit she was texting was super graphic shit. Stuff that she never used with me either in dirty talk or when we got intimate. And I know this next admission is pathetic, and that it shouldn't matter more than anything else. But that fact that she wanted to share in these acts with this man instead of me really fucking hurt. Probably just my pride talking, but it is what it is, so. Fast forward 10 minutes when we get home, and I have to suffer through smiling during dinner and the whole nighttime ritual of getting our daughter to bed so as not to cause a scene by blowing up at my wife for what I had seen her texting. Honestly, that was probably a blessing, because it allowed me to collect my thoughts before confronting her. I end up telling my wife what I saw at the gas station, and right off the bat she tries to play dumb. "What are you talking about?" "Honey, you're making no sense." I told her to not play dumb with me, and I recited some of the texts that I could remember back to her to prove that I saw what I saw. She then goes on to admit that it was a mistake, but that it was 100% nothing physical, and that she was really sorry. She admitted that the guy was a work colleague. We talked a lot that night about why she felt she needed to be doing that. A lot of it boiled down to her feeling depressed and lonely. We talked about strategies that we could invoke at home, things that we both could change, to help mend the rift. I guess things felt kind of okay after that, but it felt like that damage to our trust was already done. And I don't think I've ever really recovered. Even that seemingly small moment of infidelity, assuming that was only texts, was just such a fucking hammer to my heart. Ever since that incident from last year, I've been waking up every day as a lesser version of my former self. My emotions and propensity to feel anything have been severely muted. Interacting with my daughter is about the only thing that gets me back close to a baseline of how I remember my former self. But beyond those precious moments, I'm just a walking, grayed-out zombie that puts on a good face for pretty much everything from my day-to-day going to work, interacting with my wife, etc. Most recent incident 3. Now fast forward to yesterday. My wife has been gone on a week-long work trip to the East Coast. We are West Coast. I actually had zero suspicions or justifiable reasons to be worried for this trip, because things had been going pretty well between us, and she hadn't really given off any indicators of suspicious behavior. But my first clue was that when she arrived at her destination, she couldn't get the Wi-Fi working for FaceTime. And this stayed true for the entirety of her trip. First of all, FaceTime works on cellular data just fine, which we have a ridiculous amount of. I explained that to her without much of a response. Second, I know that if I were gone for a week from my family, it would be my biggest fucking priority to get FaceTime up and running so that I could see my family's faces every time I called to visit, which would be every single night. Which brings me to the next point. She called us in the evening to say goodnight maybe 2 times out of the 7 days that she was gone. Based on previous trips she's had, this was really strange. Normally, she is like clockwork touching in with us to share her day and to hear from us about our day, and, again, always on FaceTime. I asked her about that, and she claimed that she was just too tired in the evenings to get back to us. Also, in the past, if she was away home, she would always text me goodnight and that she loved me. Even if we had previously chatted moments earlier on FaceTime or via phone call. For this recent trip, she never texted me once. So, when she got back, my radar was on high alert. Now, I don't feel good about this next part. But when she went to sleep that night, I checked her travel bag to see if my suspicions were correct. Sure enough, to my surprise, she keeps this little red book as a diary in her work bag. I open it up, and there is a date marked 29/15. Turns out she'd started writing a poem on that day about our daughter, who had just been born the previous fall. Okay, that's really sweet, I say to myself, and I start to feel bad about my snooping. Flip to the next page, and there's a new entry. There's no date, but it's written sequentially right after the aforementioned poem. So I know that I describe here was an entry that came after our daughter being born. This non-dated entry starts off with her describing how much she longs for this specific person, doesn't give his name. She goes on to talk about how she can't stop thinking about him. Every man she sees reminds her of him. She talks about how she never really intended for things to go very far. But that one night that started in the bar and ended up going upstairs just felt too right to not be something meaningful. She goes on to say that she doesn't feel bad about making that decision in regard to how it impacts her other life. She describes how she thinks maybe her other life was the mistake. This goes on for pages. That entry ends with her making peace with herself that he moved on from her, and it was time for her to forget about him. I am assuming that her other life, our daughter and me. There was only one more entry after that previous one. I took pictures of it and have typed it out here in its entirety. I'm laughing to myself because I haven't opened this book in over 2 years, and here I am sitting in his bed, in his room at his home, still feeling angst over so many of the same things. I'll go home after having a week with him and I'll be asking the same questions. Is he ever going to call again after? Was it so stupid to go on this trip? So funny how I thought we'd never speak again, and look where I am. We worked together, we talked almost every day, and he was there for me as a friend. Now here I am, and back with questions. Why were we so hot and cold those first couple of days and then just tapered off? Maybe he's doing that moral compass wrestling, and after I leave we'll never speak again. This trip was probably a bad idea, but we had a lot of fun. And he did say he'd been looking forward to it. He missed me. He wanted this. I know that. I wish he would just tell me he wants me, just me, and always me. It's like we dance around things because he still wants us to have this thing happening despite the rest of my life. And I just don't want to talk about that, to the point that I'm lying, and I hate lying to him. But meanwhile, every tender moment I have with him is so precious I can't believe it. I couldn't imagine we'd actually be snuggling on the couch, and there we were. I haven't slept since reading that last full entry. I haven't confronted her yet either. It's been almost 48 hours now without sleep, and I'm just an emotional wreck. I just don't know how to handle this situation. I guess I've gotten so good at wearing this zombie mask ever since Incident 2 happened, that I've been able to limp through the last couple of days, but it's getting really hard to be around her. I hopped online and read some guides on how to deal with infidelity, and most of the guides mention therapy. So I'm going to look into that tomorrow. Just filing for divorce isn't so simple. My wife has a serious seizure disorder that is uncontrolled. She can't tell when they're happening. So that puts herself, and possibly others, small kids especially, our daughter to be exact, in danger. I mention this as it pertains to custody. Imagine she's making dinner for her and my daughter one evening, and she has a seizure near the stovetop and the house catches on fire. Well, the only adult in the house is lying on the floor unconscious. Or what if my daughter has a medical emergency? But then my wife has a seizure due to the stress of the situation. These are very real possibilities, and ones that I fear could happen if she got custody in any way. Some of those examples aren't too far off from other real-life incidents we've had over the years due to her seizure disorder. She obviously can't drive. Would this factor into a custody dispute? I mean, our daughter is starting kindergarten in a month. How could my wife transport her? I don't know what I'm looking for with this whole rambling post. Maybe just assurance that her gaslighting isn't working? That what I've described isn't the workings of an overly paranoid mind. I feel like one minute I'm ready to file for divorce, and then the next I want to try to salvage things for the sake of our daughter, and just to avoid the awful mess that will be made of all 3 of our lives if we end up separating. Here's some other logistical details that seem important for anyone who's managed to read this far. We own a house together, have a mortgage. I make about deleted per year. She makes around deleted per year. We have significant investments that we have joint control over that were given to us by her dad. They total somewhere in the range of deleted in stocks and bonds. I'm on wonderful terms with her parents and her family in general. I've always been that son-in-law that was there for everyone to lend help no matter how small or large. All of her immediate family is right here where we live. I have 0 family support from my side where we live. My nearest friend is 112 hours away. Thanks for any help in advance. Update. I left work today in order to start lining things up. I have a lawyer lined up for this Friday. That's the earliest I could find in my area. It's just a consultation, so I'm not sure what to expect from that one meeting alone. Thanks everyone for all of your pearls, and especially your daggers. I definitely needed some other perspectives. I know it seems unbelievable that I could go this long, but I've been seriously gaslit for years now, just conditioned to it. It's also a character flaw of mine to want to see the best in people. I'm just so fucking scared of the unexpected, goddammit. I just hope she admits to it. Is there any way she can twist this around on me, like invasion of privacy? We are WA state, so I can't record me confronting her without her consent. Relevant comments, marriage duration. My brain has been mush this week, and I wasn't thinking straight with the math. It didn't seem that important, so I didn't really edit it out. 35-33, married for 8. Been together for 14, though. That part's right. Are you planning to do a paternity test for your daughter, as well as an STD check? Of all the things I'm stressed and freaking out about, that actually isn't one of them. My daughter could not be a more perfect spitting image of me. It's kind of crazy, actually, even if she wasn't mine. I'd fight tooth and nail for her because she's still my kid, blood or not. And yeah, I'm gonna get an STD test. Do you have proof of infidelity? How much proof is this, though? This is one thing that's gnawing at me. The first incident happened fucking 13 years ago. The second incident is just he said, she said. And this latest incident, she can just make up any excuse she wants. That's not my handwriting. Oh, I was just writing a short story, novel, etc. Yeah, I took pictures of the writings book. But seriously, what good is it? Her seizures are a non-issue. I definitely get and accept all the bashing. But I don't think some people are realizing how my psyche has been shaped over all these years. She's had this horrible disability her whole life. And it's played a major role in our relationship for both better and worse. It's hard for me to just gun down that provider part of me that's been my life for these last many years. Update 1. I'm 99% sure my 35 wife 33F of 14 years has been cheating on me for years. I'm completely broken and at a loss for what to do. Last update for a while. Thanks to all of you for your support. I can't even express how wonderful all of your advice and kind words have been. I'm having a hard time getting back to all of you as this has kind of blown up. So I'm just gonna have to stop for now. I'll post another thread with an update as needed. Take care. I met with my lawyer this morning and she was great. She gave me a lot of confidence that I felt was draining away from me throughout the week as I waited to confront. I also had a good friend that was my rock throughout the week, and I will never be able to thank him enough. I ended up confronting my wife right after the meeting with the lawyer. I refused to give up any of my evidence. I just said, I know about the other guy. I need you to talk about it. I just kept repeating that line while she went through crocodile tears and confusion about what I was talking about. It was so fucking hard not giving up any of that information. But I knew that I had all the power in that situation. In the end, she never confessed. I basically moved the conversation from there by saying, well, it doesn't matter if you admit to what I already know or not, because the sexting that you did last year was enough to destroy any trust I had in you, and I can no longer live like this. From there, she just kind of shut down and became pretty docile, and never brought back up this outrageous thing I was falsely accusing her of. We pretty quickly moved into businesslike details about what to do in the short term. Her dad came over and picked her up and gave me a hug, and said, let us know if you need anything. I fucking teared up right at that moment. I'm not letting my guard down yet because anything can happen, but I think things may work out for the better for everyone involved. I cannot thank everyone here on Reddit enough for your thoughts, jabs, pearls of wisdom, and funny comments. You all gave me some serious wake-up calls and support. I am forever in your debt. Relevant comments. Does the families know? They don't know, for the sake of being reasonable and just wanting this to be over. I told my wife I am on board with just telling our family. We don't love each other. We think that we'll make better parents and lives for ourselves not being together. We haven't really talked yet about what we are going to tell our daughter. I will not be accepting her back if she does admit. There is nothing salvageable here. What happened during the confrontation? Yeah, I'm over that part. During the confrontation, she actually tried to pull the, what the fuck are you doing? Spying on me? Having someone follow me? I expected it, so I just stared at her as she went into that mode. OP replied to a deleted comment, except she knows I have the evidence, and I told her so. I told her, it was important to me that the relationship between me and your parents remained solid, and I've already told you that I have the evidence. That sounds a little more threatening than it actually sounded, but I got my point across quite clearly. She didn't say much to that. I think the conversation pivoted pretty quickly to something else. Also, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but the way both of her parents reacted, I wonder if they knew something, or were expecting this to happen. I'm not sure. It's just sort of odd to me how they reacted without knowing any context. I don't know though. They're both just really good people. So maybe they're just being thoughtful to their daughter and son-in-law. Is it possible that the wife's seizures contributed to her infidelity? Yeah, I do realize that, and I thought of that as a possible explanation for her doing what she did. But in the end, I can't really know for a fact that's what happened, and thus, I am just moving on from it because for my own sanity I can't be around that anymore, the infidelity, not the seizures for sure. It's a pretty high priority for me. My hope scenario here, crossing my fingers, is that she's just miserable with me for whatever reason. And now that I've done the thing that she's lacked the courage to do, end the marriage, she can find peace and happiness of her own. That way she can be the best version of herself for our daughter. To me, that's the win-win I want to see out of this shitstorm. Cheating duration wife was cheating for 2+ years most likely. I confronted her. Things seem amicable with our kid in the mix. I was in a pretty bad place at the beginning of this week. I'm doing better now. Final update. I'm 99% sure my 35 wife 33F of 14 years has been cheating on me for years. I'm completely broken and at a loss for what to do. Just wanted to fill people in with where I'm at with everything. Things are actually pretty good right now. We obviously separated after I confronted her. She still hasn't admitted to anything. We sold the house. And now I've got an apartment with my daughter. More about custody later. I'm actually having a blast making the space my own. And it's nice having my own time to myself again. I do have to say that I thought the loneliness would fade a bit faster, but the feelings of desperation and not knowing what to do with myself are still pretty sharp. I've started working out a lot, and I've also gotten back into writing and recording music again, which I haven't done in years. As far as my ex goes, I decided to keep things as amicable as I could for my daughter's sake, and I think it's the single best decision I've made throughout all of this bullshit. By allowing myself to feel all of the emotions I needed to feel before confronting her, I was able to keep rational and calm throughout all of this, and it's really made all of the difference. I can't imagine how awful things would have been on an emotional, legal, and custodial level had I just blown everything up when I confronted her. I've confided in a few close friends about the truth of the situation, just because I needed someone to talk to about all of the BS to make sure I was acting accordingly. But beyond that, no other family knows the situation. To everyone else, we just separated for amicable reasons. Her mom in particular is taking things pretty hard. I feel bad for her. She is struggling to understand what happened, but that's on my ex to tell her, not me, for custody. While we wait for the divorce to finalize, is that I get my daughter MF, since I am the only one that can drive her to school. My ex gets her son from 9 a.m. 5 p.m. My ex's seizures are predominantly in the evening, and it's just not safe for our daughter to be there with her on her own. At least not until she's older. We're gonna work that out and get those details in writing at some point here. Anyway, I'm feeling about 60% good, and about 40% freaked the fuck out now that I'm on my own. At 36, I have no idea how to approach the dating scene, and my confidence is a bit shot to hell right now. I mean, FFS, I haven't given serious consideration to another woman in over 14 years, so I'm probably just gonna wait for 3-4 months while I get to know myself again. Get in better shape and then see how I feel after that. Not try to put too much pressure on myself to find someone again. If anyone else has any questions, I'll try to answer them. Thanks again for all of your support. I can honestly say that this wouldn't have turned out as well as it did without your help, everyone. Take care. Relevant comments. Did your wife attempt to reconcile? No attempt. I made it clear when I confronted her that there was no hope of reconciliation unless she confessed. I never gave her any of the evidence that I had. I needed to see real remorse too. Not just regret that she got caught. I haven't seen anything yet. Did you get a paternity test for your daughter? I would if there was any doubt at all that she was mine. I'm not going to post her picture, of course. But she's a spitting image of me. Zero doubts in that arena, thankfully, and even if she turned out to not be mine, I would give zero fucks. She's my kid, always will be. I get it from a know her health history angle. But again, she's 100% mine. Bonus post. Introducing new partner to my 7-year-old I37 MAM. Looking for some advice and tips on introducing my partner 36F to my daughter 7? All three of us are active people, and I want to pick a neutral space for them to meet. I was thinking a visit to the zoo might be fun, just looking to feel out if there are some common mistakes I could avoid here. Thank you. Stories number 8. So I told my wife that our marriage isn't the right fit for me anymore when she took sex off the table? Edit. I see my post was cross-posted to the Angel subreddit. I saw a lot of comments wishing for my financial ruin, and lots of comments about child support. Honestly, if that's the only verbal weapon you've got to make someone feel small, I truly feel sorry for you. Not all divorces lead to financial ruin. And for context, we are both business owners via both sets of parents. So things are going to be fine since there's not going to be child support. If anything, it would be from her if we truly go 50-50 because her business is slightly more profitable than mine. I 38M have a high libido, and my wife 36F has a low one. We've been in a dead bedroom for about 4 years now, and we have kids together. She recently told me she wants me to go to individual therapy to stop making her responsible for my sexual needs. I've tried my best to communicate over the years, but as soon as she said that phrase, I've had a deep realization that I've had it all wrong. Of course, I don't want to have sex that isn't fully consensual, but I think by constantly talking to her about it, asking for more effort in the bedroom, initiative and playfulness in our day-to-day interactions, I had made her feel responsible for my happiness. I still am struggling to understand because when I promised to forsake all others, I thought I was choosing to be in a relationship where my partner would proactively want to meet my relationship needs not out of responsibility or duty, but because we were in tune with each other. I thought we shared the same values when it comes to intimacy and had the same desires so that it wouldn't be a chore. The truth is, I still have those needs, and she doesn't, and that's okay. She's not wrong for being where she is. But it also means this relationship is no longer the right fit for me. And I don't think I owe it to the marriage to keep depriving myself of something that makes me feel loved and alive. We are in couples therapy, and she proposed taking sex entirely off the table so we can focus our energies elsewhere, while I wait for her to regain her sex drive, which she mentioned isn't a guarantee. She says she loves me and loves our partnership as best friends and parents, and partners in the romantic sense, but she says sex is off the table. So after a few days of just mulling over, I told her that I thank her for being honest with me. I said you're not responsible for my needs, but I owe it to myself to be in a relationship where those needs are met, and if that's not possible with you anymore, then this marriage just isn't the right fit for me. I also said I am grateful to her for being honest about why sex is off the table, because it gives me time to plan things out. We have a prenup, and we've both worked hard to build our wealth together. It's scary. And I know that separating might mean losing active access to my kids 50% of the time. But I'll be fine. The fault isn't hers. But it's also true that she's stopped being the person I can feel happy and fulfilled with. She has taken this extremely badly. She has made all sorts of assumptions about me, and demands an answer as to why I wasn't curious about her thought process behind what she wants us to do. She said that I blindsided her, but honestly, I'm not angry with her anymore. She takes an issue with the language I used, but I don't see how. She has mentioned she doesn't want the blame and responsibility for my relationship needs not being met. And I thought, isn't this exactly what I was doing? I took upon the responsibility of all the choices I made, and sadly that included choosing her. She's been acting defensive and angry even when it comes to discussing kids and not our relationship. Part of me thinks she isn't as mature as she makes herself sound. Commenter 1. She says sex is off the table. Isn't that the entire reason you two are having issues per your characterization? How would removing sex from a sexless marriage even work? Or are you just not supposed to talk about sex? How can you do that since the entire reason you are in counseling is lack of sex? Commenter 2. If you check out the dead bedroom sub, you'll see that your attitude is likely the best for your future co-parenting relationship. It's shocking how bad it can get. People get bitter and isolated and really start hating each other. The only people who seem to recover in any small way are those who both accept this is a problem with their marriage that they are both tackling together. If the low libido person decides it's the other person's problem, or they should work on it separately, it's over. It's just a question of how much misery they suffer before calling it. She might benefit from reading what the experience is like for others in your situation. But she's not an AH for wanting to stop feeling bad about a feeling she can't manufacture, and you're not an AH for wanting sex in your relationship. NH Commenter 3 NTA obviously, how is she blindsided? Did she expect you to just be fine with zero sex for 4 years? The reality is this isn't a problem she wants to solve, or at best doesn't think it's important enough to solve. For most things in the human body, if you don't use it, you lose it. A libido doesn't magically come back by waiting an arbitrary amount of time. Commenter 4, info, you don't say how long you have been married, just the relationship has been sexually dead for 4 years. Has your wife been seeking medical help with her low libido? Because I'll be honest, medical professionals often minimize a woman's low libido with, at your age that happens. Or, you have young kids, of course you have lower sexual drive, and follow up exactly nothing. It sometimes takes several different doctors to find one who will listen and do something about it. Just something to consider. You of course have the right to leave the marriage, and she has the right to be upset about it. Are you saying that the least 4 years you have been taking care of your own sexual needs and are no longer willing to wait it out? Stories number 9, AITJ for marrying for money and admitting I don't really love my husband. I 28F have been married to my husband 51M for 3 years. Before we met, my life was chaos living paycheck to paycheck, struggling with student loans, and constantly anxious about the future. Then I met him at a charity event through work. He was charming, successful, confident, and clearly used to getting what he wanted. We started dating quickly. He spoiled me expensive dinners, trips, gifts, even paid off my student debt just because I knew what it looked like. A young woman with an older, rich man, but at the time, I told myself I did love him, or at least that I could grow to. When he proposed, I said yes. My friends were divided. Half said I was being smart. The other half said I was selling out, but honestly, I was tired of struggling. I wanted security, stability, peace. He could offer all of that. Now, a few years in, I can admit it. I don't really love him, not the way you're supposed to love your spouse. I respect him. I care about him, and I appreciate what he's done for me. But I don't feel anything deep anymore. Recently, during an argument, he accused me of using him. I got defensive and snapped. At least I was honest about what I wanted. You wanted a pretty wife to show off, and I wanted stability. We both got what we wanted. He looked genuinely hurt and hasn't spoken much to me since. My friends are split. Some say it was cruel but truthful. Others think I'm heartless for saying it out loud. I'm not cheating, lying, or trying to hurt him. I just stopped pretending. We both knew what this marriage was when it started. But now that I've said it out loud, I can't tell if I crossed a moral line. AITJ for marrying for money and admitting I don't really love my husband. Comments? Commenter 1, expect him to divorce? You married for stability and now that is in jeopardy? What's next? Commenter 2, are you planning to stay married? Or do you want to get divorced? Are you working and can pay your own way now? Commenter 3, you're kind of a jerk, but I don't actually think you are at all wrong. It sounds like he wanted to believe that a hot, young woman really saw him as a vibrant, youthful, virile man. Deep down he knows that a man in his 50s dating a woman in her 20s is all about money and power. She gets the money, and he gets to have the power. It's transactional, and he doesn't want to admit that to himself. Don't take that for any kind of judgment. Marriage has always been about security. Traditionally in Western cultures, it's the financial security and stability that doesn't come easy for women who don't have generational wealth. And it's the security of having someone at home to raise kids, keep house, and provide sex for men who have the means to provide. In modern times, we have put expectations of deep, forever love onto marriage. But that's an ideal that is honestly pretty rare. All marriages at least go through rough patches where one or both partners questions their actual love and happiness. You either decide to work through it or not. He's hurt. He wasn't expecting you to call him out. He thought he could accuse you of using him without anyone acknowledging that he also used his money to attract you to him. If that isn't what he was doing during dating, he would have spent less and set lower expectations. But the reality is that he fully and intentionally purchased your affections with expensive dinners, paid off loans, trips, etc. He gets to feel powerful and studly in front of his social and professional circles, because he has a hot, younger wife that probably costs him a lot of money. That's what he wanted. And now that it doesn't feel good, he's trying to put all the blame on you. Either your relationship spirals into disaster and you get divorced, or you can both accept realities and embrace the things about each other that you do really enjoy. You don't have to have obsessive puppy love for each other to have a healthy working partnership. Commenter 4, I think it was an unkind thing to say, but your husband was a man in his late 40s pursuing a woman in her early 20s. I agree that he couldn't have been unaware that this relationship was at least somewhat transactional. It sounds more like he hoped you'd also grown to love him, the person, beyond what he could provide for you. He might love you beyond what you provide for him. It was a mean thing to say, but I do think he was being disingenuous, pretending not to understand imbalances in your relationship. You're young enough to be his daughter. He knew that whether he admits it or not. Stories number 10. My 30M fiancé 38F is angry that I got my daughter 5 pairs of running shoes. My fiancé has 3 kids, 16M, 19F, 13M with her ex. Meanwhile, I only have 1 kid with my ex, my daughter 14F. My daughter is a state-qualifying cross-country and track runner. This means that her training schedule is rather intense, with her weekly mileage reaching into the high 70s and low 80s. At her most recent sports physical, I asked her doctor how often I should replace her shoes because I'm sure they get worn out pretty quickly with the amount of miles she's running each week. Her doctor recommended switching the shoes out every 6 months, as well as get 2 pairs of shoes so she can switch out the pair she's wearing every other day or so. However, Her shoes may need to get replaced earlier depending on how intense her weeks get. After the appointment, I took my daughter out to a few athletic stores so she can pick out a few pairs. I told her to pick out 4 pairs of running shoes, 2 for track season and 2 for cross-country. Then I told her to pick out a pair of spikes for her races. I spent over $300 for her shoes. When we came home, my fiancé saw the bags my daughter was holding, and my daughter excitedly told her about the new shoes she has gotten. My fiancé stayed quiet until later that night while we were getting ready for bed. She starting yelling at me for being irresponsible and a horrible person to her own kids. She said she was very mad because I should also get her kids' shoes if I'm spending over $300 for my daughter. I mentioned that we agreed we would each provide for our own kids on our own, and her kids don't play any sports. They all sit in their rooms all day on their electronics. Even when I do buy them something, they never say thank you or appreciate what I get them. She got even angrier, and now she hasn't talked to me still. It's been 2 weeks. How do I handle her anger towards me for not getting her kids' shoes when I got my daughter shoes? Additional information from OOP on his daughter. Reply. Money is not an issue for me. I make a lot, more than enough to live comfortably. My daughter's passion for running will never die down, so she won't quit. She tells me every day that she can't wait for practice, so she can go on a run with her friends. Her foot size has stayed the same since 7th grade. She just started freshman year, so I'm going to assume her foot size done growing. Also, as a runner, it is her responsibility to have a well-balanced diet, stretch, roll out, and utilize her recovery runs and rest days efficiently so that she does not get injured. Of course, injuries happen, but she does things so the risk is minimized, and she has not had a serious injury in her running career. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. These are simply my opinions. 1. As a former high school runner of similar caliber, 5 pairs is a bit much all at once. 2 pairs now. 2 pairs when track actually starts. And a pair of spikes for each season would have been fine and is probably the right way to go ultimately. But buying them all at once probably is what got the shock factor ramped up for your fiancé. 2. As someone who has been in a relationship dynamic similar to yours, any relationship where yelling and insults are seen as a way to resolve disagreements and conflict is bad news. I highly recommend counseling before marriage. On the back end of 2 years of individual counseling post-divorce, I know now how much we both could have used it beforehand. Reply. Thank you for your opinions. I suppose I could have waited, but I leave for a work trip in the beginning of January, which is when her track season starts, and I know my fiancé wouldn't take her to get shoes, even if I sent her money for it. It just made sense to me to get them for her now rather than wait. The track shoes are put away and ready for her to take out when track season starts. Though, I do want to say that money is and never has been the issue. It's what I spent my money on for my daughter that my fiancé has issues with. To your comment on therapy, she has been medicated for depression and anxiety since she was 20. She goes to therapy herself weekly, but she doesn't like the idea of me going with her. Aita for buying my daughter a gift when I didn't buy my fiancé's kids one. My 30M daughter's 14F Nintendo Switch completely stopped working earlier this week. She got it the month it was released, March 2017, and has kept it in good condition for over 6 years. Yesterday, she had her conference cross-country meet, where she both PR'd and qualified to run state, to celebrate her new achievements. I took her out to eat and then bought her a new Nintendo Switch with a game she picked out. My fiancé 38F came back from her parents earlier today and saw my daughter playing with her Switch. She asked me about it after my daughter left with her boyfriend, and I told her that I wanted to celebrate her accomplishments in her running career. So I got her a new Switch as a gift. Fiancé then got really angry and told me that if I'm going to buy my daughter something, then I have to be fair and buy her own kids 19F, 16M, 13M something too. I pointed out that I do buy her kids gifts when they reach goals and achievements too. For example, I bought my stepdaughter an expensive Hello Kitty necklace as a high school graduation gift, and I let both the boys pick out 2 video games when they both passed their final exams. She told me that it's unfair I spend more on my daughter than I do on her kids, because I make a lot more than her. Fiancé then got angrier and accused me of not liking her kids because of the different financial treatment between her kids and my kid. She left with her 2 sons, but her daughter stayed with me at the house because she's on my side. I got a bunch of texts from her family calling me a selfish asshole for treating her kids differently when buying gifts. Aita Reddit. To answer some common questions, because there's a lot of comments and it's hard to get to all of them in a timely manner. How does your fiancé treat your daughter? My daughter and fiancé don't interact much. They're both polite to each other. but they simply don't talk much aside from small talk and my daughter asking her some questions about cooking food. I have mentioned to my daughter before that if my fiancé ever were to mistreat her, she needs to tell me and I will always have her back no matter what. To my knowledge, my fiancé doesn't mistreat her at all. They just don't talk much. Do you have a will or trust fund in place? I have a will set up that gives my daughter everything. My will is safe with a very trusted lawyer friend of mine. I also have a trust in place for my daughter, and she will gain full access to it once she turns 21. Did you have this argument in front of her children? No, she called her kids down and told them what we were arguing about. I told them my side and her sons took her side and left with her. What is your relationship like with her kids? How are they with your daughter? My relationship with her sons is unfortunately minimal. I try to talk to them about their favorite topics or hobbies, and they either ignore me or shut the conversation down as soon as possible. I don't talk to them much either other than when they come to me for advice on things like school, friends, etc. My relationship with her older daughter is very good though. I'd like to think we are close. As for my daughter, she doesn't talk to her stepbrothers much, but she's extremely close with her older sister. Hope this clears up some things. Edit 2. To clear up another few common things being mentioned, my fiancé has not always been this way with my daughter and me. She started getting much more defensive when my daughter finished middle school. I am not with my fiancé for sex. My sex drive is low, and so is hers. Her children's father is not in their life and does not pay child support. My daughter's mother is not in her life either. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. You only replaced her old Nintendo Switch, so technically it wasn't a new gift. Also, you should be able to buy your daughter a gift and not expect to, but everyone else a gift. How long have you two been together? Reply. We've been dating for 4 years. Engaged for 2. I've known her for 7 years though. OP should sign the prenup before getting married. Reply. She is against signing a prenup because she takes it as me thinking of her as a gold digger, which I don't think she is. We are comfortable staying engaged. Does OP get along with his fiancé's children? Reply. Her sons do not talk to me that much. I try to have daily conversations with them and talk to them about their favorite hobbies and such, but they either ignore me or try to shut down the conversation as fast as possible. Aside from when they come to me for advice on things. But other than that, we don't interact with each other much other than me giving them gifts. I would say I am close with her older daughter though. Commenter 2, NTA, how does she get along with your daughter? Do her kids get along with yours? Do you all live together? Reply. My daughter and her don't really interact with each other than simple greetings, or when my daughter has to ask her a question about cooking when she's making food. My daughter doesn't have a problem with the minimal interaction with fiancé. As for fiancé's kids, my daughter and them get along fine. She doesn't talk to her stepbrothers that much, but she's very close with her older stepsister. It's great to see. When her older sister gets home from work, they go out to eat and shop around and stuff. We do live together, the house is under my name, and I pay all bills as well as mortgage. Commenter 3, your daughter doesn't have a problem with it because she is scared of causing an argument and be hated even more than she already is out of everyone who lives in the house. Her daughter is the only one she gets on with apart from you. That is disgusting. She's being isolated and are allowing it. You seem to not be bothered for your daughter's well-being. She is ignored by the grandparents as well, so fiancé has a big support system, and coincidentally, when things don't go her way, they all message and call you and side with her. Are you that scared of being on your own that you will subject your daughter to this constantly? You are not your fiancé's, and you can spend your money on who you want when you want. Her kids are not your responsibility. It's not your fault. Their dad doesn't have anything to do with them. When you get married, you are going to be putting your daughter in such a risky situation. She is already jealous of her if you do stay with her. I can see your daughter turning 18 and leaving with this BF and having no contact with you. Is it really worth losing her over your fiancé? I think you need to open your eyes, or better yet, stop making excuses for an entitled gold digger. It doesn't matter if her family has money and buys things. You have been enabling her behavior, and so has her family. She thinks she deserves your money. Please leave her. Commenter 4, she doesn't buy your daughter anything. Does she buy her own kids stuff? How is the relationship between your fiancé and your daughter? There seems to be some projecting here. Her reluctance to sign a prenup is also concerning, as she may not be a gold digger, but she is definitely interested in keeping access to your resources. NTA, it may be time to reconsider this relationship. Reply, she does buy them stuff, but not often, I don't think. The majority of the gifts they get is actually from their grandparents. They stay with them almost every weekend, and their grandparents buy them lots of gifts. They know how to manage their money well, and they make a lot. So there's no issues there. It is just me and my daughter. I don't have any other family, and she does not have a relationship with her bio mom. My fiancé and daughter don't interact much aside from some simple questions and such. OOP on setting up a will. Reply. I have set up a will that gives my daughter everything. My fiancé does not know about this though. Her kids don't have a relationship with their father, and he doesn't pay child support. OP responds to a downvoted comment on having a 14-year-old daughter at his age. OOP. I was raped. I didn't willingly have a kid. I don't appreciate that comment. My daughter is my world, and I had a conversation with her about relationships and everything. I trust her, and I'll support her through everything. Is OOP expected to pay for his fiancé's children's colleges? OOP, me paying for their college has never been discussed. If I was expected to pay for their college, I would refuse. I make a lot of money, but not enough to put all 3 of her kids fully through college. They'd have to get jobs. I can only fully cover one kid's college, and that will be my daughter's. Does OOP own his home? Reply, yes, my home and cars are under my name and my name only. Commenter 5, NTA. Your GF has a problem with your daughter, and she is trying to use you as a proxy for her jealousy. She didn't care if her kids got anything. She was just pissed that you did something special for your daughter. Think about it. She didn't get jealous until your daughter became a teenager. Is your daughter a real pretty girl? It sounds sick, but she is a pretty woman in your life and she has no control over it. Reply. I didn't think of it that way. My daughter is pretty popular at school. She's got friends. She's an amazing athlete and outgoing. She has a boyfriend who's also popular and athletic. She's pretty, but I never thought a grown woman would harbor jealousy over my own daughter because of her social status at school. Does OP's fiancé work? Reply, she always has been getting money from her parents. They're well off and have always helped her out with rent, housing, food, insurance payments, bills, etc. Right before the pandemic hit, she wanted to move in with me to spend more time with me. Update 1. Aita for buying my daughter a gift when I didn't buy my fiancé's kids one. I made a post yesterday asking if I was the AH because I didn't buy my fiancé's kids a gift. But I bought my daughter one. I wanted to thank everyone for the positive feedback and the kind support as well as the helpful advice I've gotten. A lot of people asked for an update after I have talked to fiancé. So here you go. She came back at 12 in the morning alone. She said she left the boys at her parents' place because she doesn't, in her words, want them in the presence of a man who won't provide for them. I sat her down and talked to her about a lot of things, and a lot of you were right. This is not the woman I want to marry. When I first brought up how she doesn't bring anything to the table when I pay for everything, she didn't want to talk about it and kept dodging the subject. I brought up how unfair it was of her to expect me to provide for her and her children when she doesn't do anything for my daughter and the bare minimal for me. She doesn't do house chores. She doesn't pay bills except her and her daughter's car payments and car insurance, and she spends minimal time with both me and my daughter. Fiancé didn't say anything. Then I talked about the financial and emotional abuse. She freaked the fuck out. She started yelling about how it was my job as the man to provide for her and her kids. When I make so much more than her, and they have no father figure, I'm all they had, and she kept bringing that up as an excuse for her behavior towards my money and how I spent it on my daughter. When I asked her what she expected me to do about my will or a prenup, she told me that any good husband would put his wife above everyone else. She had been banking on me giving her everything I had for over a year at this point. I don't like yelling at all, but I was at my breaking point with her at this point. We yelled at each other a lot. It's not my finest moment, and I'm ashamed, but I realized that I let so much happen, and my daughter suffered as a result of it. I told her about her neglect towards my child, and I will not tolerate it any longer. She is my #1 priority over everyone else and always will be. I don't think fiancé believed me when I said that, but I guess she realized I was serious when I told her to start packing. I'm done being an ATM for that lady. And it's crazy to think how strangers on an app made me realize how I was stuck in such a toxic, manipulative, and abusive relationship with her. My now ex-fiancé won't be a problem anymore, I hope. I don't think I'll be with another person for a long time, but thank you to everyone for the support and kindness. Edit. My ex's daughter will be staying with me, and I will financially support her through college, and I will also help her get her own place. Her and I are on good terms, and I want to make sure my ex will not be using her as a token to manipulate me any further. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Did she change her tune after you told her to pack? Any apologies? Or did she just leave bitterly? Reply, she started crying and begging me to let her stay. No apologies, though. I felt bad because she kept saying I was leaving her poor and defenseless, and now she has to stay with her parents. Commenter 2. So happy for you and your daughter to be rid of that toxic person. Most of the time it takes another person to point out something that you don't see. That's when you start to see that person in a new light. Rose-colored glasses for sure. Will you still try having a relationship with her daughter? Sounded like you, your daughter, and her got along well? Sad her boys didn't even attempt to play nice with you, even after all you did for them. I bet their mother was manipulating them, so you couldn't have one. God forbid they like you more than her. Reply. Since her daughter is a legal adult, my ex doesn't have a say in where she lives. Her daughter will continue to live with me until she's able to get herself her own apartment. But she still has contact with her mom. Commenter 3. I may have come across as quite harsh yesterday, but my intentions was to try and make you see how bad it actually was for your daughter. And how much you was manipulated. Well done for putting your daughter above all. Do not let her friends and family bully you into taking her back. Good luck and protect yourself and your kid. Reply. Your comment stood out to me because it addressed the reason why my daughter might not be telling me what really goes on when she's alone with my ex. I plan to talk to her later today when I pick her up from her boyfriend's house. I received a lot of harsh comments, but I realize now it was necessary. I don't think I would have been able to leave my ex if people on the outside were nice to me about it. Commenter 4. Bravo for tossing this gold digger out. Bravo for choosing your daughter. She left. The trash took itself out, and I think it may well be apparent why the first marriage failed on her part. Just hope she isn't knocked up. And if you do hear anything about it, make sure there's a paternity test. I just hope not, because you will end up chained to this woman for a long time. Reply, I got a vasectomy as soon as I turned 18. I mentioned this before, but both our sex drives were low, and mine was even lower, so our sex life was pretty non-existent. If she showed up on my doorstep claiming she was pregnant, she would need to have some proof that it's mine, or I'd get a paternity and DNA test done. Update 2. I wanted to make a post to say a few things. Mostly to answer some questions, and also because I saw my posts get reposted in a few subreddits and they have gained lots of popularity. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much to everyone for the kind words. Your support means so much to me, and I truly am grateful for the community here. Y'all have opened my eyes and have helped me a ton. Of course, there's the other side of the coin where I got some hate. A few comments of claiming my life is fake and bullshit. And then some weirdo in my messages asked me for pictures of my daughter's feet. It's not worth my time to focus on the bad side. But regardless, thank you to everyone for your input. All of it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. A popular question I have seen get asked around is how the hell I got multiple pairs of shoes for $300. The answer is simple: discounts. A good friend of mine owns an athletic shoe store downtown, so I went there. Got a discount because she goes to the local high school, and because she's on the team, and also because he's my friend. I'm eternally grateful for him. He's done me real good. On the topic of shoes, many people have asked me why I have gotten my daughter track shoes now, even though it's cross-country season. The answer to that is also really simple. I won't be here. I leave for a work trip when her season starts, so in my mind, it made sense for me to buy her all the gear she needs now while I'm still here. Though I suppose it doesn't matter much now because her season is quite literally about to end. And then indoor track season starts shortly after. My daughter and I are fine. I got her into therapy, and I think it really helps her. Ex's daughter is also fine. I offered to get her into therapy too, but she said she'd handle it on her own time, so I figured I'd just let her handle it on her own. She's an adult, and I now recognize that she's capable of being responsible with her mental health, and recognizing when she needs to get help. Both girls know they can come to me whenever, wherever, for whatever. I did get security cameras installed and nothing has happened. It's been peaceful. Also, to answer another common question, yes, I became a parent at 16. It was not my choice, but I'm glad something good came out of that situation. I work in a chemical plant, and I've been working there since I was 19. I got extremely lucky with this job because, truth be told, I didn't even go to college. I'm grateful for the opportunities I have had to be working in a good-paying job with just a high school diploma. Thank you again to everyone's support. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Good to hear your daughter is in therapy and doing well. Any update on X after you broke up with her? Did she try and pull any gold digger stunts or she leave peacefully to her parents? Reply. Nope. It's been peaceful. Commenter 2. When did the ex move out? How did that end? So happy to see you and the girls doing good. Reply. I kicked her out last week, as you can imagine. She was definitely not happy with that. Commenter 3, good on you OP, you are a great dad and stepdad. What was your stepdaughter's relationship like with her mother? It's interesting she chose to stay with you, and the boys go, did she favor the boys and treat them differently? Reply, from what I can tell, she actually favored her, I think, because she's the oldest and is her firstborn. She did baby and coddle the two boys a lot, though. Especially the 13-year-old commenter 4. Have you tried reaching out to the sons? Sucks that they are the ones caught in the crossfire here. I guess there isn't much you can do if they don't want a relationship. But it sounds like they need a good parent and probably therapy more than anyone. Well, other than your ex, of course. Reply, I have not tried reaching out. I don't have their numbers anymore, and I don't want to contact their mom for any reason. Stories number 11, Aita for telling my dad he can't just bring random men into my house. My dad came over the other day to visit. When he arrived, he casually mentioned that someone was coming by to drop something off. I didn't know this person, and neither did my housemates or boyfriend. It wasn't just a quick handoff at the door. They came inside. For context, my boyfriend and my female housemate are on the lease. I live here with them and her boyfriend. None of us were comfortable with a complete stranger entering our home without warning, especially since the person he brought wasn't the kind of person we'd normally feel safe letting in. My boyfriend reacted pretty strongly in the moment. His tone could have been more respectful, but he was shocked and basically told my dad he can't just invite people into our home without asking. He compared it to bringing his cousins to my dad's house without permission. To make the point about boundaries, my dad took that as a threat and got really offended. This kind of thing isn't new. My dad has always liked to push my boundaries. Not abusive, but toxic. He belittles me, tests how far he can go, and often takes it personally if I don't do exactly what he wants. He's brought up that he's brought people over before, and when I said that in those cases we knew beforehand, he scoffed and asked if meeting this guy in advance would have even mattered. I said yes. Of course it would have. We went to dinner later, and he blew up even more. He said he doesn't feel comfortable in my house anymore, that he could beat my boyfriend up, that he made a mistake raising me because I'm so disrespectful, and that he's thought about cutting us off over this. He framed the whole situation as me not trusting him when it was never about that. It's about respecting the other people who live here, and the boundaries of a home he doesn't own. I tried to calmly explain that it's not personal, but he's refusing to see it that way and insists he's in the right. So, Aita for backing up my housemates and boyfriend and telling my dad he can't just invite strangers into our house. Edit. This might have sounded like a sympathy post, but I was just really struggling with guilt. I honestly felt like the asshole. Like if I'd just handled things a bit more differently, maybe it wouldn't have blown up. Maybe I was disrespectful because he is my dad and he has done a lot for me. But the only way that would have worked is if I rolled over and gave in to his demands. Thank you everyone. Commenter 1. NTA, but honey, that is abusive. Constantly pushing boundaries is abusive. Commenter 2. Take dad up on his offer and go LC with him for a while. See how he likes that? That would also be a good way to reinforce your boundaries. Commenter 3. He blew up even more. He said he doesn't feel comfortable in my house anymore, that he could beat my boyfriend up. This is where you should have gotten up from your dinner and left. Threats of violence against your boyfriend because your boyfriend defended the boundaries of your shared apartment. He's thought about cutting us off over this. Sounds like the perfect time to do the same. Even though you said this isn't about trust or being personal, it really is at this point. It's personal because he's your father. He actively antagonizes, gaslights you, and has now resorted to personal threats, which means you also can't trust him due to his unstable behavior. Complete disregard for your space and the people in your life. None of those are the actions of a loving, well-adjusted parent, let alone an adult, honestly. I find it all a bit alarming, wondering what he will do next. Commenter 4. NTA, but you need to consider cutting contact with your dad, not just because he's an abuser, which he is, but he raised you, so your concept of things is totally different from people not raised by abusers openly gloating about his abuse. But imagine what this must be like for your boyfriend. His girlfriend's abuser strides into the place, treats her like shit, talks to him like shit, and he seems to be getting away with it. This is going to cause you massive strain in the future. Stories number 12. Grandpa is punishing my dad. I have the power to stop it, but don't know if I actually want to. IF21 lost my mom when I was 14. Dad remarried when I was 17. My stepmom has a daughter F15, she and dad had a boy 3, and now she just gave birth to a little girl. Anyway, I have worked since I was 16. To have so money to buy stuff for me, When I turned 18, Dad said I was now an adult and should start paying rent. It was only $500, a symbolic amount since he would still cover food and other essentials. I was mad and we fought, but in the end I accepted, and that was the arrangement until 7 months ago. Dad came to me saying I had 2 months to move out. Stepmom was pregnant, and they would need my room for the baby, which is insane because they both have private offices. My stepmom doesn't even need one since she's a Sam since the birth of my baby brother. Nonetheless, they told me I had to move. BTW, just an addendum. Me and stepmom get well fine. We don't fight or bicker. I don't think this was a evil stepmom moment, but who knows. Me and stepsister are actually pretty close. I help her with homework and talk about her personal problems. I do love her very much. Back to the story. I didn't know what to do. I'm going to a college. I want to be a civil engineer and work part-time. I don't have the means to live by myself. I called my aunt, asking if I could move in with her for the time being, until I figured something out, offered to pay rent and all. She was aghast at what Dad was doing. She said I absolutely could live with her, no rent needed, but also said she was going to deal with my dad. The next day, Grandpa came to our house, and they talked privately. I could hear my dad's angry voice, but couldn't understand anything being said. After a while, Grandpa came to my room and said I had 3 choices. The first was continue living with Dad and stepmom like I was doing. Nothing would change except without paying rent. The second was moving in with him and Grandma, or my aunt. Third was find a place of my own and he would pay the rent and costs for me. He said I didn't need to choose now. I could keep living with Dad, and if I changed my mind to just tell him. I was actually relived I could still live with Dad, and that this madness was over. But the following days and weeks, Dad and stepmom were very hostile towards me, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable being in my own home. Even Cassie picked this up and asked me why they were angry at me, so I decided to move out and told Grandpa. He said he would take care of everything. Few weeks later, he moved me into one of his rental units. The apartment is lovely. He bought me a fridge, stove, and other essential items. He gave me a check for $15,000 saying this money is to help me start living on my own, and that as long as I am working or studying, I can live there rent-free for as long as I want. My dad and I have been pretty low contact since I moved out. He never came to visit me. Or I visit them, I miss them a lot, especially my stepsister. But I'm still hurt. 2 weeks ago, my stepmom gave birth. I visited them in the hospital. It was a little awkward, but nice seeing them and my baby sister. Anyway, few days ago Dad calls me, saying he misses me, the children misses me, and I should move back home. He apologized for asking me to move out, etc., 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 and I told him I would think about it. Yesterday I visited my aunt and was telling her what my dad said, and my cousin laughed a little and said, "I'm sure he does." I asked what he meant, and that's when they told me a lot of, until now, unknown information. Basically, my dad's home is actually my grandpa's, as is my aunt's. Basically the deal he made with me, he did with all his kids and some grandkids as well. He never wanted any of his family to have to worry about basic stuff like house and food, etc. When I called my aunt that time, she called Grandpa, which was furious with Dad, not only for kicking me out, but also for charging me rent. That day he went to my dad's and tore him a new one, and threatened to have him evicted. But now the petty part. You know that $15K Grandpa gave me? It's actually what I paid Dad in rent all that time, and now he's making Dad pay him back. Also, he's charging Dad $1,200 for the rent loss in apartment I'm living in. Call me dumb or naive, but until now I never realized my dad didn't make that much money. We lived in a great house, always went on vacations, and lived very comfortable lives. But I guess Grandpa has always been helping behind the scenes. Now my cousin thinks Dad is struggling with 3 kids at home, a single income, and having to pay it back to Grandpa. So he says Dad wants me back, because he imagines Grandpa will stop punishing him if I'm back living with them. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm actually loving living on my own these past 6 months, but I do really miss them. I miss my siblings. I miss the life we had before all of this. But I don't know if moving back home is the right answer. And also, I'm hurt the reason he wants me back is money. Honestly, I just wanted to vent. Relevant comments, commenter 1. I'm so very sorry that your father has hurt you so much. He doesn't want you though. He wants money. And knowing this is always going to hurt you and chip away at your self-worth. I know it hurts, but going back is not healthy for you. You deserve people in your life who love you unconditionally and want to spend time with you because it's you and without ulterior motives. How about starting new traditions with your aunt and grandparents? They love you and want you around. I wish you all the best. Reply. He doesn't want you though. He wants money. And knowing this is always going to hurt you and chip away at your self-worth. This is the weird part, because I know this, but also, it's difficult to see my dad that way. These past 6 months I wondered why kick me out. If I had done something, now I'm thinking, was it all about money? How about starting new traditions with your aunt and grandparents? They love you and want you around. Yeah, they've been great. I visit them whenever possible. Grandma isn't in the best of health, but she even came to visit me on my birthday. I'm very lucky to have them and their support, and thanks for the kind words. OP's comments cause. You said your dad didn't contact you at all since moving out? No. I said we were low contact. He and stepmom wished me happy birthday, and bought me a book as gift. I invited them over, but they didn't come. I also never visited them, or was even invited. You said he made you pay $500 for rent right after you turned 18. And you are now 21, assuming you paid him rent in your 18th, 19th, and 20th year. That's 12 months x 3 years, $100 or 36 months x 500 rent. 18,000. Now, your grandfather took money from your dad and gave you a check for 15,000. Does this mean that your dad owes you more money? He didn't start with the rent the second I turned 18. Nonetheless, I hadn't actually made the math. Regardless, Grandpa had bought a lot of things for the apartment. So I don't know if he took that into consideration or not, but the reality is I don't care if Dad owns me anything or not. I'm grateful to Grandpa to have a place to live, and with that money have some savings. But your dad, understandably, and stepmother were hostile to you. And you decided to move out if you had a good relationship with her previously? Why was she hostile to you, assuming Grandfather only scolded Dad? I don't know what was said or done that day. I thought the situation would go back to normal. But it became weird. They never shouted or were aggressive with me. It was more like I didn't exist. They only acknowledged me when they demanded I do some choirs, which I always did, so I don't know why they were acting like I was spoiled or something. I felt unwelcomed. So I decided to take Grandpa offer and move. Reply. In response to a comment telling them that even under the new arrangement, OOP's dad is still saving a lot of money on rent or mortgage, and thus OP shouldn't feel guilty. Also, I have a feeling your grandfather would but unconvinced to change the rent your father is paying even if you were to move back. He is charging your father to make a point, not to actually cover your expenses. It makes sense. I've been reading what people say, and I'm more comfortable with staying where I am. Less guilty, but maybe I should talk with Grandpa about it. To hear his side, I now realize I've been too sheltered from information I think I need. Reply. In response to a comment advising them that instead of moving back home, to instead schedule regular plans with family and sleepovers with stepsister. Those are great suggestions. Thank you. I'll tell Dad I won't be moving back, but I'll suggest ways to reconnect. I would love to have sleepovers with my siblings. I'll put that as the main one. People are being so helpful, and I'm realizing I can have a relationship with them on my own terms. I feel kind dumb, because it's obvious. Thank you again, Redditor 1. Yeah, I was really worried when I read Dad had a child with stepmom's kid. I believe you are studying engineering. Best of luck. Reply OMG. Is that how it read? Oh God, no. Dad and stepmom had my baby brother. And now stepmom gave birth to my sister. I'm dyslexic and make abundant use of autocorrect. Sorry about my grammar. Update 1. Grandpa is punishing my dad. I have the power to stop it, but don't know if I actually want to. I wanted to give you guys an update. Since you've all been so helpful and kind to me, I was so overwhelmed by the support you gave me. Thanks 1,000 times. Before, just answering some questions people had. My aunt and grandpa are from my father's side of the family. My mom's side, unfortunately, I don't have much contact. My grandparents have passed away before Mom. I have uncles and aunts I see once in a while, but they don't live close. I also have 2 other uncles from my father's side. I'm close to them, but not as near my aunt. She was my rock when Mom died. I consider her a second mom. My stepmom knew about the rent I was paying. It was implied stepsister would need to do the same when she turned 18. But I don't know if she knew Dad didn't own the house, or the extent of how much Grandpa has financially helped Dad. To the update Monday, the day after my post, I called Dad and said I decided to not move back. I didn't mention anything I was told. Just that was well settled here, and moving back seemed like a step back. But I also said I wanted to keep in contact with them. They could invite me for dinner whenever they wanted. And I also said I would love for my stepsister and brother to be able to spend time with me here at home. He was disappointed, and I didn't feel any angriness in his tone at least. But he basically said, "Oh, we'll see," and left at that. I was also disappointed. But then Friday he called me, asked me if I wanted to have lunch Sunday today. I said I already had plans with Grandpa and Grandma. He asked when I would be free, so we scheduled a dinner for Thursday. I haven't told any of this to my stepsister. We talk and text regularly. She also haven't heard they talking about me. But she did say her grandma, her mom's mom, is there to help with the baby, and is being incredibly annoying. I laughed at that. I wanted to offer her to sleep over here, but didn't want to get her excited just for Dad to say no. So I'll try talk with them Thursday. The big update is I've just came back from visiting Grandpa and Grandma. We spent a lovely day together. But I also said I wanted to know everything that was going on. I wasn't a kid anymore, and I felt like living in lies. The most important things were things my cousin and aunt told me last week. But there were a few more. Grandpa had been subsidizing quite often our basic needs, like school, healthcare, etc., because Dad haven't 1 cent saved up according to Grandpa. Also, my college fund was mainly contributed by him and Mom before her passing. I guess that makes sense. I was also dumb to not realize this sooner. He also have set up funds for my baby siblings, and also one for my stepsister, because he didn't want her to feel excluded and not have the same opportunities as her siblings. This man is incredible. I love him so much, and yes, I'm very, very lucky. I've seen so many people commenting this, not in a derogatory way, but being very supportive and nice. I know I'm very privileged to have grandparents and family members who can afford and are willing to help me. I hope one day I can help others the way they are helping me. Anyways, I also expressed worries about Dad's financial situation, and he assured me Dad is fine, more than fine. He will have to be less frivolous with money for a while, but that he would never let any of his kids or grandkids to suffer or be in the need for anything. As many of you said, he's trying to teach Dad a lesson. I should have taught him a long time ago. So I'll stay out of it. I don't think I'll tell Dad that I know all of this. I know many of you said to confront him, but I think it's for the best if he continues thinking I'm oblivious. Lastly, we talked about why Dad kicked me out. He didn't have an answer either. I could see he and Grandma were very hurt by what Dad did. He said he asked for an explanation, but got none. That's it for now. I'll continue trying to have a relationship with my siblings outside of my dad and stepmom. I also try to schedule some weekly dinner with them. I know what you guys said about my father is mostly true, but I need to at least try have a relationship with him. If not for him, for my siblings, and for me. But don't worry, I won't let him hurt me anymore. Update 2. Grandpa is punishing my dad. Dinner went well, spend the weekend with sister, but no new info. There isn't much of an update, but some people messaged me asking about how was the dinner. So last Thursday I went there after work. Gosh, I missed my siblings so much and I spend majority of the time with them. My baby brother is not a baby anymore. He have grown so much. My baby sister is so cute. I could eat her alive. I never want to be apart from them anymore. Doesn't matter what happens. Cassie, I said her name once in my original post by mistake. She's my stepsister. Is the only one I maintained regular contact through calls and text. She's just an amazing person as well. She knows I didn't move out in the best of circumstances, but doesn't know the details or anything about the money. I asked if she wanted to have a sleepover at my house sometime, and she was thrilled. If I hadn't stopped her, she would have started packing at that second. My stepmom's mom was still there to help with the baby, and guess where she's staying? In my old bedroom, they transformed it into a guest room, and the baby room was stepmom's old office, because it's closer to the master. Honestly, that hurt a little. I've only met my stepmom parents a few times. They were always nice to me. This time she kept looking at me weird all the time. Didn't matter where I was or where I moved. She was keeping track of me, like she was expecting me to try and steal something. When I was holding the baby, didn't leave my side anyway. Apart from that, dinner went as well as you can imagine. A little awkward, but I was glad I could see my siblings and spend a few hours playing with them. At the end I mentioned Cassie having a sleepover in the weekend. Her grandmother started saying that absolutely not. Cassie would not go. But to my surprise, stepmom stopped her. She said if Cassie wanted, I could pick her up Saturday after soccer practice. For dinner, that was that. When I was leaving, stepmom gave me a really tight hug. So many people were saying how she's just an evil stepmom that I kinda started to believe. But as I said in my first post, we always had a good relationship. I left very confused and emotional. Saturday afternoon I picked Cassie. We watched Inside Out 2. Then we ate shawarma for the first time, which is basically a meat burrito. I don't see the difference. It was so good to spend the day with her. I'm so glad to have her in my life. Sunday I dropped her off. and went inside to see my other siblings. Dad wasn't there. He was out meeting a work friend. Some people asked what my dad does. He's a lawyer, and stepmom used to work for an advertisement company, but is now a SEM. We have another dinner scheduled for Friday. I don't know if I'll ever find out exactly why they wanted me to move, or why charge me rent. I don't want to touch the subject now, because I don't want to jeopardize my relationship with my siblings. So I don't know if I'll have any more updates since things are settling down and is now just life. But if I find out in the future, I'll update. You guys have been incredible. Thanks so much for all the words of kindness and support you gave me. Talking it out, and then reading your replies have helped immensely. I also took people's suggestions and do therapy, and this Friday will be my first session, relevant comments Redditor 2. I would have a private chat with your dad and stepmom to see what is actually going on without your step-and-half siblings being present. Just ask them point blank their behavior towards you. Make sure you record them on your phone while talking to them. Especially your stepmom's mom being very aggressive towards you. Where's all this coming from? What changed? Are they going to charge rent when your stepsister is old enough? Does she want you out of their lives? Just ask them these questions, especially your dad. Then based on truth, tell them if you are not wanted in their lives, you are already staying away from them. Mention the above. Then you will go NC with them and keep in touch with your stepsister because you both love each other. Tell your dad and stepmom to enjoy their new replacement family without you, I guess. Thank your dad, maybe your stepmom, that you remember what they have done for you over the years. Give your love and best wishes to them and say goodbye. Reply, I understand where you are coming from, but that's the complete opposite of what I want. For starters, my younger siblings are babies. My baby sister is literally a month old. There's no way to have a relationship with them if I go NC. Even my stepsister, which I would still have contact. She's still a teenager, sure I can call and text her, but we wouldn't be able to spend time together. I'm already out of the house, I have a home, a job, and am studying hard to have a career. Whatever the reasons they kick me out, or needed money is not of my concern anymore. What I'm concerned is having a relationship with my siblings. See they grow up and be part of their lives. I don't intend to rock the boat and possibly jeopardize this just to satisfy my curiosity. My dad and stepmom were being normal with me. Only her mom was being weird. But as long as that doesn't affect my relationship with my siblings, I couldn't care less. I'll gladly pretend nothing happened. I haven't forgiven them, but I can forget. Update 3. Grandpa is punishing my dad. Dad came clean about everything that happened, and explained why he did what he did. So things blew up a little, and I don't even know where to start. I still haven't processed everything I've been told. Since my last update, things have been normal, from my side. I had another dinner with my parents the Friday before last. Stepmom's mom, who I'll call Ebby, meaning evil bitch spoilers, was still giving me the dirty eye, but I ignored her. I had scheduled dinner with them for last Friday, and I was talking to them about taking my little brother to the park yesterday. But Wednesday, my dad called me asking if I could instead postpone dinner, and instead go to Grandpa's on Saturday because he needed to talk with the whole family. Meanwhile, I had been talking to Cassie, and she's been telling me stepmom, I'll call her Ste, and Ebby have been fighting a lot. Well, last Sunday, Ste's father shows up. I'll call him Laby, meaning lying bastard. There's a big fight, and Laby and Ebby go back home on Monday. So yesterday afternoon, I go to Grandpa's. My aunt was there as well. Then Dad and Ste arrive with Cassie. Dad was clearly embarrassed. He apologized to me, to my grandparents. Ste apologized to me as well. And Dad gave an explanation reason for everything that happened in the last few years. Some things I already knew, but Cassie didn't. She was present for the whole thing. So I'll try to tell everything here. I don't know how coherent I'll be, but I hope you can follow me. Years and years ago, Grandpa and a friend started a company. The company was very successful. When Dad was 25, Grandpa sold the company and made a lot of money. So he decided to gift each child a home. He gave his kids $350K each, with the promise they would use to buy homes or pay out the mortgages. Grandpa had seen people lose their homes and didn't want that to happen to his kids. Dad didn't buy a home, however. He actually moved to New York to start his own practice and become a big and successful lawyer. And as you can imagine, things didn't turn out so well for him. Half a decade later, he has no money left, can't pay rent. So he reaches out to Grandpa and moves back home. Grandpa helps him find a job with a buddy of his. After a while, Dad starts to put his life back together. Rents a home and move out from Grandpa's. Meets my mom and starts dating her. They fall in love. After a while, he asks to marry her. Before they married, Grandpa came to them and said he would gift them a home. He had already talked with his other kids, and they were fine with it. But because he didn't trust Dad, and the home is so Dad's future kids would always have a roof over their heads, the home would stay in his name and in his will. They would go directly to Dad's kids. So I was actually mistaken before. My uncles and aunt don't live in homes owned by Grandpa. Only my dad does. And I think 2 cousins of mine as well, next thing I was born. Life is good for a while, then Mom passes away. Dad struggles with taking care of me alone. That's when Grandpa starts to help financially. Few more years, Dad meets Stay. But Dad is embarrassed about not owning the house, and that Grandpa is helping him. So he never tells Stay any of this. For her dad was just a moderately successful lawyer. They marry, she becomes pregnant. She asks if she could become a full-time som, and Dad is embarrassed to say no. So he tells her it's fine. In the meanwhile, now with 3 kids plus a Sachem wife, Dad is struggling even more. Grandpa is helping more, and Dad's savings are being diminished day by day. Dad admits that he kinda threw Stay under the bus to Grandpa, blaming her for his financial problems to Grandpa, so Grandpa would continue helping for the sake of the kids. Now I need to go back a little and talk about Labi and Ebby. Just as Stay, they think Dad is a rich, successful lawyer, and they start saying to Dad how he's spoiling me, how I'm gonna be irresponsible with money, how I have an easy life, that when Labi was my age, he had to pay rent to his dad, and he did the same with his son, Stay's brother, and how successful they became, never needing anything from anybody, bootstraps, etc. And apparently that got into Dad's head. He became afraid I would be dependent on him, or more likely Grandpa and his money. Instead of being successful on my own, he became afraid I would be a failure like him, that still needs his dad to bail him out. So he started getting parenting advice from his in-laws. Why not ask his own dad, who's much more successful and raised 3-4 of his kids to be successful as well? I asked. And apparently it's because he felt embarrassed that comes up again and again and again to explain Dad's action. Embarrassment. He didn't want Grandpa to think even less of him. Therefore, the rent idea, which was a suggestion from Labi, Dad says his initial plan was to save the money and give it to me later. But with a new kid, Stay not working, and trying to project to Stay and his in-laws how things were fine, saving the money became impossible according to him. BTW. He also lied to me here at the time, saying it's a normal thing to do. That Grandpa had done it to him and his kids, which is a lie I discovered 8 months ago. But with everything else that happened, that seemed small at the time, there's a detail that I didn't disclose in my previous posts because it didn't matter, or so I thought. And that is I'm part of the LGBTQIA+ community. I don't hide this fact. In fact, I was already out to my mom before her passing. But it's not something I advertise either. That'll become relevant later. Anyways, continuing. Labi becomes Dad's confidant, and he starts to open himself to him about his money troubles. And Labi start to say things like, I should move out, and things like that to Dad, which is rejected initially. Then Stay becomes pregnant again, and Dad panics. That's when Labi and Ebby come to Dad, and say they would help him, not only financially, but Ebby would move in with him and Stay after the baby to help out, and even convince Stay to go back to work, since Ebby would be there taking care of the kids. But for that I needed to move out. Their reason is because the home wouldn't be able to accommodate Ebby, and that it was time I left the nest, etc., etc., etc. So they convinced Dad I needed to move out. Dad didn't tell Stay any of this, keep in mind, only that he thought it was the best for me, and the baby coming was just a great opportunity. According to them, Stay was against this, but Dad pulled the "my daughter, I know best" card, so she deferred to him. They tell me I need to move out. I talked about this from my point of view. That day Grandpa goes to my dad's home and they have a huge fight. Not only Dad and Grandpa, but Dad and Stay. Because it was then she discovered Dad didn't own the house. Dad had almost no savings, and Dad was dependent on Grandpa. Dad's deal with her parents was still a secret. At this point I asked Stay, why then she acted so hostile towards me after that day, so much that made me unwelcomed and wanting to move out. And she looked shocked. She apologized to me and started to cry, saying that she was never mad at me, but at Dad, that she had no idea she was to blame for me moving out. I was crying as well. I said it's not her fault, and guys, I know many of you have said bad things about her, and I don't blame you, but I do believe her. The look on her face when I said I felt unwelcome, and that's why I moved out. Or it's not something you can fake. Now I'm thinking she's as much of a victim of my dad's actions as me, and all this time she was just trying to give me space. So going back to events, I move out. Grandpa not only cuts Dad from all financial support, but starts to charge him money for the house. The only thing he continued paying for is Cassie's education. Now everything is in the open, and Dad and Stay have to cut everything. Dinners, expensive foods, sell her car, etc. Laby and Ebby give them some money as well to help out. Poor Stay is stressed out, pregnant, with a lying husband. I'm actually sad for her and what she went through. I was looking at Grandpa, and I could see he was as well. I don't think he realized the amount of stress he was placing on her. I don't know how he will proceed from now on regarding Dad and the house before the baby is born. Ebby moves in with Dad and Stay. Stay gives birth, things are normal, but with the new baby, Dad feels even more guilty over what happened. And that when he calls me, again this part I already told you, jumping to when I went to dinner the first time, Dad and Stay also recognize Ebby acting strange towards me. After I left they talked, nothing came from it, but Stay kept talking to Dad about her mom. And Dad started to tell her his conversations with Ebby and Laby, about money and raising kids, etc. After my second dinner, Stee confronted her mom, and they had a huge fight. And apparently that's when she said something in the lines of, "I can't believe you're letting that slur back into your home after getting rid of her." And that's when the coin dropped for Dad, and he realized how much of a fool he has been. They kicked Ebby out. Laby came to pick her up, and they had another fight. Dad actually wanted to act as nothing had happened. Continue with me visiting and rebuilding the relationship, but Stay put her foot down and said he needed to come clean. About everything, not only to me but Cassie, and everyone as well. And so we came to the present. I was crying, Stay was crying, Cassie was crying, Dad was crying, Aunt was crying, Grandpa was crying. Grandma, who hadn't said a single word, was holding me tight. According to Dad, that's all, no more lies. No more deception. Dad and Stay left after that. I slept at Grandpa's because I was in no state to drive. Came home this morning, took a fucking long shower, cried a lot, and now I'm typing this out to see if it helps me make sense of all of this. Make sense of my thoughts and feelings. I guess that's the end of the story. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I feel sad, angry, sorry for Stay and Cassie. I feel everything and nothing. I'll be calling my therapist tomorrow to see if we can book more sessions. I've been going every Friday. But I can't wait a whole week, on the bright side. Whoever had bet evil step-grandmother, one oop comments. Yesterday, the more I thought, the more afraid of what became of my dad's marriage to stepmom. She has been tough a lot as well in the last months and has 2 small children. I'll suggest to her therapy as well, family and individual. I also realize now that she doesn't have her mom's help with the baby anymore. Things maybe be even harder to her. I'll talk to her and offer whatever help I can. Oopie. In response to a comment suggesting that Ebby hates her for being LGBT, that's what Dad and stepmom have said. He said he realized she was a bigot and trying to push me away. I never had much interaction with them. When my parents were visiting them, I usually stayed with my grandparents. So I don't know if that was like the last straw for him, and if they had said other things to him in the past. He never showed any signs he didn't support me, and neither have stepmom. That's why never crossed my mind it had something to do with it. Update 4. Grandpa is punishing my dad. I have the power to stop it, but don't know if I actually want to. First, I'm in a much better place emotionally, as last year I was a complete wreck. I'm doing very well for the most part. For those who don't remember or do not want to read my previous posts, the summary is, my father forced me to move out. Grandpa was mad at him and cut off his financial assistance that no one knew about, including my stepmom. Stepmom parents manipulated my father into kicking me out. Because I'm trans, in exchange for their financial support. Now after everything hit the fan that day, life went back to normal more or less. We started family therapy for a while. It started promising, with Dad being willing and open. But after a while he regressed, and became less willing to put on the work until he stopped going. Me, Cassie, and stepmom continue going for a while. But stopped as well. I continue with individual therapy, and my psychiatrist wants to make an evaluation for ADHD, but wants to wait until I'm fully emotionally and physiologically stable. Stepmom and Cassie continue individual therapy as well, as I imagine most could guess. Stepmom and Dad ended up separating after a few months. At first it was temporary, but now there's no going back. Divorce is not finalized yet, however. Stepmom stayed on the house as Grandpa would not accept anything else. I started going there to help stepmom with the baby, and my little brother more and more, until I was spending almost all time there. So me and stepmom decided I would move back. I thought Grandpa would be disappointed, as he was very proud of how well I was doing on my own. but he looked happy when I told him. But he said he'll keep that unit a little longer out of the market if I ever need it. I continue going to uni, but took only a half load of classes this last year. But now I'm back to a full schedule. Fluid mechanics is a pain. Home life has actually been pretty good. Me and stepmom became really close this last year. She went back to work, while I left mine to help with the kids. And I truly prefer this, as taking care of my siblings is much more enjoyable. But also, Grandpa insisted on paying me to babysit. But next year I'll start interning on a construction company from my grandpa's friend. I know many people insisted my stepmom knew everything, or was somewhat complacent with Dad's actions. But I truly believe and trust her. She's being almost no contact with her parents, and they are forbidden to visit. Cassie also stepped in and is helping a lot around the house. And Grandpa also insists on paying her for her time. We know this is his way of helping us without making it sound too much like charity. My baby sister is a little devil, running all over the house. The little Lucifer, or Lucy as I call her, that's not her name. But I do actually call her Lucy, sometimes didn't even learn to crawl properly. She went directly to walking. We need to keep constant vigilance because it seems her head has a magnetic pull toward sharp corners. My little brother was the one hit the hardest by Dad moving out. I know these posts have painted a terrible picture of my father, and I'm not excusing anything he did, but he was a good dad otherwise. And my little brother was very attached to him. Me and my father barely speak nowadays. He acts like we should all forget everything and move on, which I still cannot do. There's no formal custody agreement between him and stepmom, but he picks my brother twice or thrice a month to spend the day or weekends. And now that my sister is older, her sometimes too. Overall, I'm in a much better place than I was last year. I have an incredible family, amazing grandparents, loving siblings, and my stepmom has become a really close friend. I even got a girlfriend. I also know I'm extremely privileged to have a supportive family and system. In no moment in all of this have I ever had to worry about having a roof over my head or food on the table, which unfortunately is not everyone's experiences in similar situations, as I've been told sometimes harshly over private messages. Lastly, I'd like to thank everyone who read or commented something. The support on my first post was the push I needed to stop being naive and ignore things. Posting here was a great way to help me to figure it out, my thoughts and feelings. But I probably won't do any more updates. As I consider this chapter of my life closed now, stories number 13. AITJ for refusing to lie to the police to protect my husband after he caused an accident. I 30F have been married to my husband 33M for 3 years. He's a good person most of the time, but he can be impulsive and has a habit of acting before thinking things through. Last weekend, he borrowed my car to run a quick errand. A few hours later, I got a call he'd been in a minor accident. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt, but my front bumper was destroyed, and the other driver's car had noticeable damage. When I got to the scene, the police were already there. My husband pulled me aside and whispered that he didn't have his license on him. It had been suspended for unpaid tickets. He begged me to tell the officers that had been driving. I said absolutely not, I wasn't even there, and lying to the police could get me in serious trouble. He looked panicked and said it would ruin everything for him if he got another strike. I told him he should have thought about that before driving on a suspended license. When I refused, he glared at me and muttered, "Unbelievable. You can't even have my back?" The officer then asked who had been driving, and I told the truth that it was my husband. He was cited for driving with a suspended license and causing an accident. Since then, he's been furious. He says I betrayed him, and that a real partner would have protected him. His mother even called me saying I should have just said it was me since no one got hurt. I don't see how lying to the police and risking my own record was the right thing to do. But now the whole family's acting like I sold him out. Comments, commenter 1, NTJ. He is the jerk for trying to get you into potential legal trouble by lying. Someone reply. Stupid is forever. Because he was irresponsible not paying his tickets, he got his license suspended. He chose to drive and caused an accident. I don't see how any of this is your problem or responsibility. Does he ever take accountability for his screw-ups? Tell him when he starts making good choices you'll have his back. But you can't for his stupidity. That's his problem. Commenter 2. You are definitely NTA, never lie to the police. It never ends well. Your husband, though, is a jerk for driving with a suspended license and for asking you to lie in a cover-up. Unbelievably selfish of him. Commenter 3. Wow, what a family. They showed their true colors quick. The other person obviously knows who was in the car, but they wanted you to perjure yourself for him. I hope you are not planning to procreate with him. Integrity is obviously not a value of their family. Commenter 4. He had a suspended license and didn't even tell you? How long has he been driving since getting suspended? Does he realize that insurances don't protect you when you are suspended? That you guys could lose everything because of his negligence? What if he hurt someone, and he thinks you are the asshole? He is an immature, impulsive, reckless asshole who clearly has no trouble withholding some pretty significant information from you. That's not something I could tolerate in a marriage. Stories number 14. My dad is the reason I have high standards for men. I've come to understand that our parents really affect our dating lives. From when my parents met, my dad always took care of my mom when she lost her minimum wage job. He had a more successful career and she depended on him. He was the sole provider and still had time to take her to creative dates, would help her network when they got older, would learn her hobbies and get gifts related to them, took time to help her move away from her abusive parents. They were living together before they got married. My dad was already planning for his proposal before my mom had an accidental pregnancy. My dad was extremely supporting, unlike the men who run from responsibility when their girl gets pregnant. My dad proposed way earlier than he intended so they can be married by the time she was due. Parenthood wasn't easy. Can't really recall much. I'm the youngest child. But my older sister always said they treated her well way before I was born. She didn't have to play the third parent, because ours was so involved in our lives. The very few times I heard my parents argue, my dad would comfort my mom before going to bed. If she was sick and couldn't do things around the house, he'd take up the workload unprompted despite having work. Overall, he was an attentive, supportive, and chivalrous guy. And even decades later, they still go on regular dates and renew their vows. He was smitten by her. When I have my little talks with my mom, it almost sounds surreal. Like something out of a fairy tale. She would tell me these things while doing my hair, or if we're making something in the kitchen from my early teen years. And in my mind, before I actually started dating, I was like, whoa, Dad is so cool. I would love having a guy like him. But when I actually started dating, I realized that he's probably more rare these days. Some guys get praised for doing the bare minimum, and for remembering to text their GF back. The standards for dating in general have gone down over the years. It's now as if women have to beg for love and attention. It's kind of depressing when you think about it. Just casual hookups and unstable relationships. As if people don't do romance anymore. And when I say my standards, some guys tell me to get realistic, even if I had basic ones among the others. I'm unsure how to go about this. Once you've seen stellar standards between your parents, it raises the bar of expectations for you. In reverse, if your mother had terrible partners, it would influence a girl to go after terrible guys. So although my dad is a good husband, it has made dating harder for me with my standards. Minor edit. It seems some guys are taking this personally and feel the need to project. Since there needs to be a clarification, a woman should also be caring and attentive to their man. That should be a given already. My mother definitely made my father feel important and loved too. Comments. Commenter 1. I think this is a really touching reflection. And it's clear your dad modeled something special. Not just effort, but genuine care and partnership. That said, I think one way to make dating feel less bleak is to shift focus from what a man does provides. Plans, remembers, pays to who he is. Instead of measuring men by the list of things your dad did for your mom, try measuring by the traits that motivated those actions. Things like fairness, integrity, temperance, patience, and compassion. Those are timeless qualities, and they can show up in different ways depending on someone's circumstances. A man might not have the money or time your dad had, but if he has the same core character, responsibility, respect, self-control, that's what really sustains love over decades. Commenter 2. Another thing to recognize is that month 1 of a relationship and month 40 are different things. I'm very, very invested in my relationships, more than anyone I know, but month 1, I am not texting all day, every day. If you're expecting a newer partner to abandon all of their own life and priorities before they even know you, what you're going to do is filter out all men except those with attachment issues that desperately want to keep you around. And you'll find yourself in the repeated problem of relationships that become unstable after a few months. Learn to respect yourself as a single person. Maintain a high bar for the type of person you're dating. When you get into a dating situation, be realistic about how much investment should be there on week 1, 10, 100, and then just put that in yourself and see where things go. Commenter 3 had a friend with similar parents. They were textbook model couple. She grew up watching Love Done Right. But when she hit dating age, she didn't just inherit high standards. She inherited a people-pleasing script. She dated across genders, gave too much, tolerated too little in return. Her last toxic relationship involved buying gifts for her partner's kids, while being emotionally neglected. Years later, she married a street preacher 12 years older who ran a coercive church setup, the kind where ministry means panhandling and obedience. Her story taught me this: even if your parents modeled love well, you still need to unlearn the idea that love is earned through labor. You need boundaries, not just standards. You need self-worth that doesn't hinge on being useful. You need to recognize when romance is just control dressed up in scripture or sentiment. OP, your dad sounds amazing, but if you don't examine your own relational reflexes, you might keep chasing fairy tales while missing the red flags. Stories number 15. A guest late 30s coming over for dinner tonight is the most obnoxious intellectual you could ever meet. My 28-mer wife 29F wants a peaceful party. Do I keep quiet or call him out on his rudeness and BS? Where to start on this? My wife loves entertaining is a good place to start. I'm already pretty introverted, so having people over feels like a real invasion of my space. Even without this guy coming over, I'm already filled with such anxiety I can hardly sit still, and I won't be able to relax until everyone is gone. So I have my shortcomings as well, so all the attendees tonight come from our kids' swim team, who my wife wants to get to know better. One of the invitees is also a dad with a kid on the team, and he's a professor at the state university in our town. It's hard to describe him, but I'm sure everyone reading this has met someone just like him. Despite being a professor, he's as dumb as rock, but absolutely loves to intrude on everyone else's conversation to give his expert opinion. For example, I was talking with another dad about wanting to go bow hunting. We were very much minding our own business, and weren't intruding on anyone else. I also think we were highly aware that shooting animals with a flying projectile is not great talk for a kid's swim lesson, so we were well away from the other parents and kids having our conversation. All of a sudden, the professor comes up to us, listens for half a second, and then goes into full lecture mode about the evils of the robber barons, of the animal flesh corporate complex. I told him that actually that was one of the reasons I wanted to hunt, was because factory farming kind of grossed me out. He actually held his finger up to me as if to say shoosh, and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm an expert in this field." I don't know exactly, but I believe he's a sociology professor. I was stunned and truly speechless. He began to lecture us about how evil our intentions were, and thank God maybe 2 minutes in the head. Coach called for all the parents to come around him for a discussion on the upcoming practice schedule. At practice today, I sat next to this professor but wasn't part of his group, and I could hear him talking about the evils of professional sports, even though he'd been to a pro baseball game the night prior, but instead of the rest of the people who will there as fans, we went to research the human condition as a impartial observer. There are certain hipster parents who also have kids on the team that are just in awe of this guy, but I wanted to puke. It was perhaps second only in douchiness to animal flesh corporate complex. What's even worse about what this guy says is the fact that it's clear that he's not there to discuss. He's there to lecture, and for the most part, the parents who are interested in what he thinks just sit there taking it all in. So this guy and his wife will be in our house tonight. I am dreading it. I mean physically dreading it. My wife is working very hard to make this dinner successful, but I don't know how much I can take of this guy. If he starts getting insulting towards me and other people, at what point do I speak up? Do I take it to a full-fledged argument if need be? Or do I just keep quiet, letting him dig his own grave, and most people recognize his douchiness for what it is? And maybe even giving and having an argument is exactly what he's looking for? Tell DR, we are having an incredibly douche know-it-all over as part of a dinner party. I am wondering, do I speak up and argue with him? Or do I honor my wife's request to have a polite party, and let him make an ass of himself? Top comments, commenter 1. Or do I just keep quiet, letting him dig his own grave, and most people recognize his douchiness for what it is? Do this. Better to have this party be remembered as, that time we invited that boring asshole and he was awful, than that time OP blew up and ruined the party. Let him be the ruiner. Not you, commenter 2. So this. It's not like anyone is going to invite him back. Focus on talking to the people you do like, and on helping your wife with the food. I just have to get something out of the oven is a great reason to walk away from a boring conversation. A good host makes sure everyone has a good time. One person clearly doesn't even want to. So focus on everyone else who came along to have a fun night with you. After all, this is about your wife making friends, not you making enemies. Commenter 3, what's the point of arguing with him? Seriously, just let him talk, and it will quickly become apparent to everyone that this guy is a total clown. If he starts on some REM very smart bullshit, smile and nod politely and chuckle about it later. If he goes on and on, just say, well, on another note, how about that sport game, movie, innocuous subject, etc. If he tries to speak over you, say, I wasn't finished speaking, and calmly continue your point. Standing up for yourself doesn't automatically mean there's an argument to be had. If he shushes you, say pointedly, that was rude. If he says he's an expert, you can always say, well, we can agree to disagree, take the higher road. But don't make yourself a doormat on the way. And maybe in the future just don't invite him. He isn't entitled to be included just because the rest of the swim team parents are. Commenter 4. This just shoot down everything he says as neutral as possible, dismiss him. Or laugh loudly from a throne and proclaim that he has no power here. Commenter 5. These are great, I don't mean to typecast. But there's got to be a well-spoken English man or woman somewhere who knows the best ways to stay composed while belittling someone at a dinner party. It's a British tradition. Edit 1107. Party is winding down, and I read through the first few responses, but didn't realize this would blow up so much. Basically, the party went okay. Professor Guy wasn't too bad at first, but had a couple of drinks and was in rare form. He didn't realize he had the wrong crowd, and no one was really paying attention to him, which I think was getting under his skin. The absolute craziest thing he said all night to a mixed-race mom on the team, white African-American, was that she didn't understand the complexities of race. An American professor is white as a ghost. She handled it like a real pro, and just let him keep digging his hole. And I think her closing line was like, I may not understand the complexities of being black in the US, but I'm sure my dad does. He was actually hit with a fire hose as a teenager. That didn't even shut him up. But at that point, his wife had had enough and pretty much said it was time to go. They were the first to leave. It's time to go decompress with some Fortnite. Stories number 16. Aita for asking my wife to ditch her divorced friends. So, I 39 ma'am, and my wife 38F have been married for 10 years together for 15, and have 2 children, 9 mem and 7F. My wife has been going out with a group of 3 of her friends from work once a month for years. When it first started, all her friends were married, but in the last couple of years, her 3 friends have all had very messy divorces. Now the problem, when my wife goes out with them, she comes home and is suddenly hypercritical of everything I do or do not do. So I do work from home and have worked with my company so that every day I can take my breaks in order to do kid drop-off and pick up, walk the dog, cook supper, and try to do other things around the house if my workday allows it. My wife, who works out of the house, used to be super appreciative of this, always say, thank you, or do other little things like if she had to stop and fill up the car, she would pick me a bag of chips, or some other token of thank you. When she now goes out with her friends who have gotten divorced, none of them were easy. She comes home and now, instead of thanks, I get, well, you didn't do the laundry, or the laundry didn't get folded and put away. Even my cooking, which she used to love, now is picked apart with everything that could be improved or changed. Also, suddenly all intimacy is gone, not a even kiss goodbye or good morning, and if I try anything else, I just get shut down hard. This usually lasts for about a week or 2, but it is starting to get longer before she starts saying thank you and appreciating what I do around the house. The other day, my wife left her personal cell phone at home and called me from work, asking her to bring it to her and to charge it on the way. I don't think she realized that plugging her phone into my truck for the drive would bring up her text messages. Well, as I was driving, this group of friends started texting her phone, and it was nothing but bashing me, with things like, what didn't he do today? He sounds like he just makes more work for you. And, hope he likes the cold. So I pulled over and read the conversation, and everything she was saying about how I was making her life difficult. Honestly, it nearly broke me, but I didn't want to overreact. I brought the phone to her and she grabbed it and went back in the building, no thank you or anything. That night I arranged for my dad to pick up the kids so we could talk in private when she got home. I told her I saw the text messages, and she snapped at me for reading the messages. Yes, I realize it was wrong of me to do. I told her, well, apparently, according to you and your friends, I am a dog, a husband. My outburst took her by surprise. I am generally pretty soft-spoken, and I went a rage about all the stuff I do around the house daily that apparently count for nothing, and if it was a big problem she could step up and do more. I asked her if she still loved me, and she did say yes, and she said she just gets caught up talking with this group and feels the need to join in. So I told her she needs to cut it off with this group because I cannot live with a wife that doesn't respect or appreciate me. And we need to go counseling as well. She said I was being unreasonable for asking her to cut out her friends of over 10 years, so Amita. Update 1. Thank you everyone for the comments and mostly support. Couple of things. Some people pointed out the laundry. I would like to say it did get done that evening. We actually folded it together. I just didn't get it during the day because I was working. As to current situation, while she has not cut her friends completely, she has agreed to take a break from them for the next 3 months as we go to marriage counseling. I have also taken some of the offered advice to have the friends over and explain the situation and the problems it is causing. So far, none of them have agreed to come over. My wife does seem willing to work on our marriage, but I do think the thought of me getting primary custody of the kids if a divorce has some to do with it. So we will see how the next few months go and we'll keep you updated. Comments, commenter 1 NTA, and she doesn't respect you? If she is easily influenced by those people to the point where she tells them very terrible stuff about you, they can influence her to eventually do something worse. She pretty much trusts the friends she meets up with once a month and not her husband. Meet up with marriage counselor and explain the situation to them. They can probably explain why you aren't being unreasonable. Good luck, OP. You seem very sweet to your wife. Commenter 2 NTA, your wife has no idea how good she has it. She's speed-running herself to being the 4th member of the Divorced Losers Club. They say misery loves company for a reason. It's not a coincidence that they all had messy divorces after each other, and now you're suddenly having relationship issues. Typically, I'd say wanting to have your spouse cut friends off is bad, but here, 1000% valid. They're poison. I'd stop making her life easy. She's got to step up at home and earn your trust back. This is crazy work. Commenter 3. NTA, everyone is missing the point. It's not her friend's fault, it's your wife. She has been the one supplying her friends with ammo to hate you. I would also hate you if all she did was talk shit about you. She going to have to admit she's a liar to her friends. Also, don't apologize for reading the text messages that opened your eyes. Commenter 4. At this point, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Her friends are close enough to her that she feels pressured to disrespect you. Instead of shutting that down, she gives in. By giving in, she is choosing them over you. By choosing them, divorce is just over the horizon. Stories number 17, get rid of my vacation. Have fun replacing me. I worked at a company that gave out exorbitant amounts of vacation. Anyone who worked there for 25 plus years received 8 weeks of vacation and 2 weeks of personal time. This was a family-owned company, but rather large. We ran 3 shifts totaling 250 plus people. Enter Jimmy. Jimmy was a grizzled old man. He started at the company when he was just 20. Now he was 63 and gave absolutely zero shits. Jimmy also knew how to make a specific part for our product. Him and one other higher up in the office. One day the plant owner comes out and announces he's selling to a corporation. He's older and ready to retire. He promises that there will be very little change and wishes us all well. The new company comes in and immediately goes after many of the great benefits we had. The first thing they do is cut everyone's max vacation down to 4 weeks and do completely away with personal time. Anyone who's maxed out had until December 31st of that year to use it up, and they wouldn't pay it out. They then go into the office and clean house, firing anyone who's close to retirement, including Jimmy's backup. But they also do away with one very important rule. You no longer have to get vacation approved. You can just call in and take it. Jimmy is pissed, and they know it. They realize he's the only one in the building that can do his job now. So they hire a new kid for him to train, most likely to permanently replace Jimmy. So Jimmy does what anyone would do. He calls in the first training day for the new hire, and lets us know he's going to use all of his PTO at once, and promptly takes 10 weeks off. We had a backstock of parts he had made, so it wasn't too unnerving, but for 10 weeks, Jimmy went and applied to other jobs, found one, and started fast forward 10 weeks. It's the day Jimmy is supposed to return. He doesn't. For 2 days they try calling him, and even go to his house. He's nowhere to be found. Finally, on day 3, he calls and resigns, and they lose their shit. The parts he makes are specialized and patented by the original founder. You can't just hire someone off the street to make them. What eventually happened was they had to contract the original owner to come in and teach some new hires how to make them, and when he found out what all they had done, it pissed him off. The last I heard, he charged them a 7-figure contract to teach them how to produce the parts, and they had to pony up or close down. Moral of the story: don't fuck with people's vacation time. Edit. Jimmy made an electronic control module that was sealed and stayed fixed in a poured unit made of a 2-part epoxy. Edit 2. Jimmy didn't exactly miss out on a 7-figure contract and had zero chance to take one. He left, said fuck 'em, and moved on. When they contacted the previous owner and explained the situation, it was basically a, "You need my help? It'll cost 1 mil" type of conversation. Final update. Thank you everyone for all of the attention this received. I had no idea this would blow up like this. I have immediate family working with the company still, so if I hear of any more rumblings, I'll fill you all in. Also, I worked here for 4 years. I have a few other Jimmy stories I may post at other times on the appropriate Reddits. Thank you all again. Some of comments commenter. So they never tried to contact the backup and rehire him? Reply, honestly I never asked, nor was I informed. He was like 65 and had also been there for 40 plus years, so I'm sure they did. Why he didn't come back, I'm not sure. My guess is he was bitter and doing just fine in early retirement. Commenter, Jimmy is my spirit animal. Reply, our factory was next to another factory. In between them was a giant gravel lot owned by the city, and they let both factories use it for excess parking. One time, Jimmy was walking out of the building and a coworker told him their boss was coming to find him, to let him know he needed to clock back in and stay over to finish some work about 2 to 3 hours. Jimmy hustled out to his truck and waited. When the boss walked up, Jimmy deadass looked him in the face, pulled a 40 out of a cooler in the bed of his truck, and slammed it. Now I didn't get to see this. I was just told about it. Rumor has it, they just stood and stared at each other for a minute, before the boss shook his head and walked back in, since he was in the gravel lot and not on company property. There wasn't anything they could do. Jimmy was a hard ass, OP adds. A 40 is a 40 Oz can of beer. Jimmy always had a cooler with 40 Oz cans of either Blue Moon or Milwaukee's Best in the bed of his truck. Commenter, I'm cool with not being taken advantage of, but Jimmy was being a dick in this instance, or worked at a place he didn't like respect and probably should have quit long ago. Because after this, Jimmy shouldn't be driving himself home. Hey, if your company fucks you around, I get it. But if they're halfway decent, you could return the favor. For the rest of us who want decent places to work, who don't hate the world every morning we wake up. Reply, I have no idea if he drove. His wife worked across the street and his brother worked there with him. So I honestly couldn't say. He did leave his truck there at the end of the week a lot, and ride with others to the bar or river. So I couldn't tell you. I never saw him drink and drive. But that doesn't mean he didn't. On the other hand, I completely agree with how he handled it. He was already clocked out for the weekend and halfway to his truck when they decided to make him stay for overtime. He could have just said no, but he made a statement instead. The company was bad about alerting you to overtime. They'd come out while you were waiting in line at the time clock and pull you for a double. And this was before the takeover. Out of all the good reasons to work there, that was one of the few bad things. Commenter, firing everyone at retirement age is majorly illegal in the US. Age discrimination. Reply, well, here's the thing. I live in an at-will state. They can come in and fire you at any time and are required to give zero reasoning. They usually give you BS reasons though, such as, we've eliminated this position, or, the company is going in a different direction. They never say you're too old to cover their own ass. Granted, you could take it to court, but you'd probably lose. It's sad and unfair. Edit, I should have stated this earlier, but didn't think it relevant. They fired other people as well. Probably 10-15 people who had been there for like 10 plus years. But the thing is, they hired people to replace almost everyone they fired who were of all ages. It was more to cut costs than to discriminate against age. People who had been there for multiple years had received raises. And we're talking dollars, not cents like most American companies. So they hired new people at the starting wage and saved a buck. I guess a case could still have been made against them though. Commenter, as an old guy who has been a tech exec at dozens of companies, including being brought in on takeovers, let me confirm that this is so real. Not as bad as entitled next-generation owner whelps who haven't a clue about running anything, and then go firing key people in a hissy fit, crippling the company. Both outsiders and next-gen owners have rarely a clue about the secret sauce that made the original owner so successful. Better than average vacation or share options make for far better employees. And alter that at your peril. Reply, I agree 100%. This guy started this company in his basement in the late 50s, and made it a $500 million company. We had great benefits, great employee-employer relations, and the lowest turnover rate I've ever seen. The new corp made it one of the worst places to work in the area. I still have friends that work there, and they just tried and failed to unionize. That's a still developing story for another day, though. Apparently they crossed some lines and possibly broke some laws. Maybe karma will strike again, more on the part Jimmy made. A control module that was handmade and had to be sealed to be dropped into a 2-part epoxy. They honestly probably could have reverse engineered it, but my guess is they were crunched for time. I know we had a lot of backed up orders in multiple departments. Update 7/28/2025. This post is still rolling in comments and likes, and I can't believe how it's blown up. Jimmy is still around. I see him from time to time, especially at the local watering hole. He's still kicking and is still his old self. The company we worked for had a major restructuring about 2 years ago, and things have gotten better there. So Jimmy went back. I myself have moved on to bigger and better things, but after constant contact from their new HR and talent recruitment program asking me to come back, I've decided to at least have a sit-down with them. I showed Jimmy this post one night, and his reaction was comical in itself. Those fucktards didn't know who they were messing with. They sure as shit know now. Take in mind, he was probably 2 buckets in at this point. At the time of his re-employment, they were shaking things up due to a scare that the employees had brought a union in and were gearing up to vote on the matter. Part of his stipulations for going back were the reinstatement of all the benefits he'd lost, and the dealing with of 2 of the problem higher-ups, an issue that had been brought up by several other employees at that time. 2 weeks after he started back, both were walked out of the building and told to not return. I can imagine the smile on his face as he waved goodbye to both of them. I'll be working by his side in the near future if things go well. Maybe I'll even ask for more vacation time. Thanks to all of you so invested in this story. I'm sure I'll have more to add in the near future. Stories number 18. My fiancé used my infertility story for his best man's wedding speech. This happened last weekend, and I still can't stop shaking when I think about it. I 31F and my fiancé 32M have been together 7 years. We've been through hell, miscarriages, IVF, endless medical stuff. It's been painful, but we made it through together. Or so I thought. His best friend got married last week. My fiancé was best man and gave this long, emotional speech about how love is about fighting through storms. Then he told my infertility story, in detail, in front of 200 people, including his friend's entire family, co-workers, and their priest. He even included how we lost 3 pregnancies before realizing maybe it wasn't meant to be yet. I sat there frozen while people applauded. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. Afterwards, he said, I just wanted to show how strong we are. Strong? I feel exposed and humiliated. Now he's acting hurt that I ruined the night by leaving early. He keeps saying I should be proud. He shared our story. I can't even look at him. Comments. Commenter 1. What does that have to do with his best friend's marriage? Commenter 2. Nope, that's not sharing your strength. That's weaponizing your trauma for applause. He turned one of the most painful, private parts of your life into content for a speech. You have every right to be furious. And honestly, to rethink marrying someone who confuses vulnerability with performance. Commenter 3. If you think you want to continue a relationship with him, please get some third party to explain why what he did was so terribly wrong. Commenter 4. That wasn't his story to tell. He turned your trauma into a TED Talk. You don't owe anyone forgiveness for that. It's emotional exhibitionism disguised as love. My HS grapist just reached out to me to apologize. No one believed me back then, and I'm questioning if I should do anything with this. This was over 20 years ago. He raped me at a party and ruined my life for the next 10 years. I reported it and was basically laughed at and ostracized by the police. And my entire hometown, I was in a very dark place for about a decade after this, and it took me a lot of therapy to get healthy again. The no one believing me and the ridicule I experienced afterwards was almost worse than the rape itself. But now, he's admitted sent me a FB post saying how sorry he was. Guess he's in AA now, and this is one of his steps. I don't accept his apology. He owns a business now. Married with kids, I was in and out of psych wards after his assault for years because I kept trying to kill myself. Should I post his rape apology as a review for his business? Should I send it to his wife? Should I let it go? I thought I had let my anger and resentments go. But this apology just made them come flooding back. Editing. Love you all. I have calmed down a lot since posting this. My initial panic is gone. I have also taken in all of your advice. I will not be posting it publicly, but I will be taking it to attorney. He doesn't implicitly mention what he did to me, just that he was so sorry for what he did to me. So not sure if I have a case worth looking into though, especially since they have my original police report, whipped if I stopped babysitting my husband's female friend kids. I will put some context before I try explaining the situation. I'm having an issue with my husband, and I have been together for 17 years. Married for 14 years, and we have 2 kids. About 4 years into our marriage, I found out that my husband had cheated on me. I debated for months if we would work through it or end our marriage. We ended up trying to fix things. My husband quit drinking, and we started therapy. I thought we were doing good, but he has this bad habit of trying to come to other women's rescue. Our therapist told him to stop, that married men shouldn't have female friends, and that if he wants friends, find other males. My husband said he understood. It's been a few years since all this has happened, and things were going well, so now to the reason I'm posting. My husband had come to me a couple weeks ago and was talking about a woman at work. He told me that her and her boyfriend broke up, that he was threatening to call CPS on her if she leaves her kids, 5 and 9, years old, home alone while she goes to work. My husband and her work, 3rd shift. Needless to say, he then told me, I told her that you could watch them since you are here and you all will be sleeping anyways. Then he stated, but that's only if she has to. I said, we'll see. Last week, Sunday night rolled around, and her kids showed up to our house, and I was told that the school had called CPS on her and she guesses she can't leave her kids home alone all night. I have been watching them all week, which has been easy enough. They are good kids. Now what is upsetting me started on the Friday before she showed up. I was relaxing on the couch watching something on my phone, and he stood in front of me and flung his hand while saying, "Must be nice to be so lazy." He spent the weekend making digs at me, to be honest. It's not new behavior, so I usually just laugh at him and then ignore him. I know I'm not lazy. I work, clean, take care of the house, and I run the kids all over for their school activities. All of my work vacation is used down to the last hour on my kids' activities. I don't want to miss any of their games. He does get to me. I have to list all the stuff I do so that I can remind myself that he is wrong about me. It doesn't always work. There are times I need my sister to talk to me about it. Then on Monday night he was telling me a story about work and how him and the guys talked about who you would do if you had to. And they asked each other for both genders. I asked what his answers were, and he told me, well, I had to pick someone around my age. So he told me he picked her. I was like, that's messed up and weird. But I was like, whatever. Second incident was our daughter snuck a kitten in the house. I told her she had to get her dad's permission. He hates cats. He's a dog person. I figured it was going to be a bit of a fight, but he just let her keep it and told her she is in charge of taking care of it. That weirded me out. He complains about the cats nearly every day, but we took the win. What really sent me over the edge was what happened Thursday morning. I got up and got the 4 kids ready for school. While also getting ready for work, I hadn't had much of a chance to talk with my husband that week, due to kids' sports, his work meeting, and working different shifts. So, when he got home a bit earlier than normal, I was like, yes, we get to talk a little. We talked a bit about our kids' after-school activities. Then his coworker walked in, and her kids yelled, "Mom's home!" It was cute and funny, until I noticed my husband decided to play along with a big grin. I was not very happy with him, talking about another woman like that. After that, he completely ignored me and started talking to her, and they started talking about how they were going somewhere next week after the kids go to school. I asked him twice, what's up? And he just ignored me and kept talking with her. I stood there for maybe 2 minutes like a ghost I just left for work. He normally says, "Love you. Have a good day." But this time he just said bye. I didn't know what to do, so I called my sister, and she told me this was messed up and he shouldn't be white knighting another woman. I haven't said anything to him yet, but I keep going back and forth. I'm not sure if I'm reading into it too much because of our past issues or if there are some vibes that I'm picking up on. I don't know if I should listen to my gut or not. I think too much. I'm tired. Haha.